Okay, press and go live. Okay, did it.
Okay, we're live. Yay! Yeah.
Well, let's just double check, make sure we're live, and looks like we're live. So
Hey,
did it?
Please let us know.
We're live. All right.
All right, whoever's here, like the stream immediately. Just the first thing you do before you listen to a word we say, press the like button, and then more people will watch, and then we'll be so happy.
I mean, chat, for whenever you see the stream, which is now, hopefully, usually we don't look at chat anyways because we're just bad at this, I'll be honest. Not because we're intentionally avoiding it, we just don't do it. But tonight is just a legitimate excuse. I've refreshed, the chat is just something went wrong. Like, here, I'll do it again. Like, it's just broken. I don't know why. So, there you go.
Well, if you leave a super chat, it might work.
It will, because I'll be able to see it in the mini feed on OBS.
Okay, perfect. So if you want your chat to be read, leave a super chat. We actually can literally physically see it then.
Or if you want to join chat, then join the Discord chat, linked in the description below, and we can read that there. So, hey, there you go.
But with that out of the way,
I just realized I can't actually post it.
First topic that's just itching on your mind.
Okay, here, I'm gonna do two different Discord.
Probably one of our many intro topics.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so, okay, I'll make this a clip anyway, so it's gonna be fine. So, I wanted to read a comment out. So, we're gonna read this comment by Yusef Whale -Y9S. So they said something in terms of the Daigo react, and Kamui, the title of this clip will probably be something along the lines of why we can't do Daigo reacts or something.
Yeah, so, I think it's the one I laugh reacted to already.
Yes. So reading this out loud, they say, next time you watch the rewrites, try watching part 9 and part 10 in one video because it's kinda connected together. Also, instead of the rewrite videos, why don't you watch the rewrite movies? Daigo made a playlist where he compiles all the rewrites of one arc in one video. This will make you go through the rewrites much faster and catch up to Daigo, and also these long videos will force you to cut down the sideline yap and focus on the goddamn video. Otherwise, your podcast will last over a day. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. What do you think?
Well, so here's the conundrum with that. So I, on one hand, completely agree with everything that guy said, and he is objectively right in 99% of the regards, but there is one major caveat. Well, I guess two that kind of go hand in hand. We like the derailments, because the derailments oftentimes are things we are emotionally invested in talking about, and they're sparked by the react. So we would just, I'm sure you and I agree, we would hate to just not say all those things we have to say at those different times. It would be like punishing us almost.
But more importantly, it's beyond our choice. We can't help but to do it. If we could, we would. Trust me. I don't like the fact that we spend 3 hours on a 10-minute video, but we can't help it.
And so, the other thing, let's be honest. If we do the react movies, let's just say it's a 2-hour video, we're not going to do it in 4 hours or whatever. It's either going to be a 12-hour stream, or we're just not going to finish. And at that point, you might as well just do the episodes the way they are.
Yeah, like this dude saying, otherwise your podcast will last over a day, so it's going to force you to cut down the sideline. So it's not otherwise. If we do the movies, our podcasts will be over a day because we can't force out the sideline yap. As much as we want. So for anyone who wonders why it takes us so long to finish a Daigo React episode, that's the reason. But thankfully I sometimes cut it down.
Like, we recognize our flaw. We know it's a flaw, but we embrace it.
We also can't do anything about it. We can't fix us.
It is impossible.
We've tried.
I mean, it's sad but true. We have objectively taken different measures to see if it would work. And, I mean, the sad thing is, I don't think you guys in the comments realize how many times we have said to each other, usually I'm the one who says it, be like, we need to end by 2 a.m., let's say. And here we are. 5 a.m. Still going.
With no end in sight.
and then when we get to the end, we both want to say so much more. But we realize we're only getting 4 hours of sleep because of this.
I don't think you guys understand how bad it is. We will set up to do a 2-hour Naruto topic stream and end up doing 6 hours of Boruto topics, not even getting to the start of the Naruto topics in the stream.
We did the same thing with MAJ the other day, where pretty much all 4 hours I was there for. By the way, I was supposed to be there for an hour and a half. I was there for 4 hours. And it was 99% all Itachi before I left.
You know the thing that was supposed to take 10 minutes?
You know, it just...
And the guy who was in disagreement wasn't even there. It's like... Shout out, Ultra.
I mean... it is a remarkable power that we have. It's both a blessing and a curse.
It's like I wasn't even a part of the argument, the conversation, the original thing we were reacting to, and I was just forced into my category.
It's one of those things where you're not going to find another YouTuber around who has the ability to just say so much about Naruto. Let alone everything else.
I just want everyone to understand. We aren't doing it because we're so hard-stead mindset on, oh, we have to be transformative for copyright, blah, blah, blah. No, Daigo doesn't care. We don't care. We just can't fix ourselves.
Exactly. It's probably the reason we haven't gotten any copyright strikes, because we're so transformative by nature. Also, real quick, I'm just my laptop and eventually switch mics. So give me just a second to leave and rejoin.
Okay. Well, for everyone else who's here, what do you think about that? So I guess next thing I'll say is sometimes we do Twitch streams, and you can see the Twitch in the description below if you go down here. It's Twitch is right there, so definitely join the Twitch if you haven't, because we stream there sometimes, and specifically stuff that we can't stream here, such as anime reactions, specifically anime that Kamui's never seen before, and maybe sometimes I haven't seen before. And we did JJK chapter streams last night, and we'll pick that back up on the YouTube channel too soon at some point. But either way, so definitely go there and check it out.
Weekly-ish. Hopefully weekly-ish.
Yeah, we do like a lot of Naruto topics over there sometimes too. We just stream. So yeah, definitely go check it out.
Usually what happens is we go to Twitch for Platinum End or anime reactions of that nature, and then derail to other things constantly.
Yeah, like I think we didn't start Platinum End until an hour and a half or later in, because we started with JJK topics without planning to do JJK topics in the first place. It
was entirely because of the God and the JJK curses.
Yeah,
Comparison with the angels.
Yes. So definitely.
But now I should be at the better mic.
You
Hopefully
are.
that's working.
And hopefully that
Perfect.
means that I'll be able to understand you more than half of the time since you've been cutting out, but that's okay.
That's okay. Yes, indeed.
So,
Right, you are.
do we want to do Boruto topic since we're doing Daigo React, which is Naruto, or do we just want to make this a Naruto? Well, no, we have to start with Boruto because the chapter,
I'm okay with
the
that.
title of the stream is Boruto TBV chapter
Okay,
23.
that's
Makes
fine.
no sense still.
I'm okay with either personally, so either way works for me. We got plenty to do for both. We could do
Okay,
maybe like a transition. We'll see how it goes.
sure. So, did we want to start with chapter 23? Yeah, we might as well. We might as well. Okay, let's finish up the 10 direction stuff that we never finished.
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
Okay. So let me find where it is. I don't think I ever actually moved the old topics that we did last time into the used topics. So they're just still like all here, and I have to like find where we left off at.
Probably for the best. So then you can just make sure you didn't lose anything.
Yeah. Okay, I remember doing that one. So okay, so with 10 directions. Let's start with 10 directions.
Yeah, you had like a theory to explain things you never got to.
Yes, because of Augusto, I don't even have to go check to remember your name. I just remembered off the top of my head. I haven't even seen it in a few days. So, hey, that tells me that you stuck out of my mind when writing this. So, hey, there you go. Okay, so 10 directions explained for Augusto. This is why 10 directions might not make sense. That'd be a crazy title. 10 directions doesn't make no sense. Okay, so Kamui.
Okay, I'm actually down for that. 10 directions doesn't make no sense.
Instead of makes sense, yeah, it just doesn't make no sense. Okay, so Kamui, did we see all of the 10 directions updating? Do you think?
Probably not, because we only saw like, I mean, it's possible that only like 10 things changed in general, but I assume like there's just would be like a lot of variations. I'm gonna go on a limb and say no in general, because there's probably like a chain reaction. So let's just say, like, for example, Gene in Chicken Eyes scene. That's an update that Koji saw, so something changed there, obviously. But I imagine that scene has a further ramification further into the future that we didn't get to see. So I'm gonna assume no.
Okay. Because there's technically two different ways you could answer that. The specific scenes that we saw, such as Gene and Chikadai, that's like one instance of a scene that we did get to see. We just didn't see the whole scene as Koji might have seen it. Whereas something like just a random example, Matsuri coming back, would be an example of an update that we didn't get to see at all, regardless of it being fleshed out.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying no. I'm gonna say probably no as well, but it'd be fun to say yes. So okay. Because that being said, the next question, did we, the audience, see what Koji saw, and vice versa? So, aka, does 10 Directions actually just suck? And Koji just saw, like, the corner of Shikadai's jacket, and, like, that's all he saw in reference to Shikadai? Or did he see, like, off-screen, actually whatever the Shikadai scene is, and we, the audience, just didn't get to see it?
Yeah, it's gotta be that, because for obvious reasons, like, there's no way, like, that's all he sees, because there's just too many things he just wouldn't know.
Well, like it's things that we haven't seen what he saw with the other instance of 10 Directions. Like, for example, the update 6 days ago, I'm assuming we never saw that. So he could have had 10 Directions things off screen. But, like, how do you think he gets the 10 Directions information? Does he see the scenes, or does the information get burned into his brain regardless if he just sees the corner of Shikadai's jacket? Or is he just seeing Shikadai's jacket surrounded by a ton of other scenes of Shikadai that he sees but we didn't see? Like, how does it work?
I assume he either sees everything all at once, kind of like Aaron with the founding times power, or all the information is just put into his brain, and the artist Ikimoto's visually just giving us some pictures.
Well, it's definitely
One or
not
the other.
all at once. At the very least, it's one at a time, seeming as it takes more than a single instance in real life. So it would be very quick
Well,
if anything, but
The
probably
problem though is
could be real
that
time.
okay, so are we gonna use the Ishiki scene or the scene? Dude, it just was blatantly different in both cases, but
Well, Ikimoto retconned his own scene depicting Kodachi's scene, so that's where it
which
gets
is
real
retcon
tricky.
of Kodachi's scene. It's a double retcon, you know.
So it's hard to say, but like okay, let's just say that Koji only saw the like 10 different scenes that we saw, but like do you think it's like whenever Koji sees the corner of Shikadai's jacket, he is getting like the expanded view in that singular instance where he knows what that means, just through 10 directions instinctively it's just downloaded into his brain despite him only seeing Shikadai's jacket? Or is he just seeing other things as well? Like, is he only seeing what we saw, or is he seeing more than what we saw?
I think he has to be seeing more than what we saw because otherwise 10 Directions is just so bad. He would have to just be mega giga geniusing his way around all of this. And I don't think he is. I think he's just blatantly being given the information. And I definitely don't think it's a case where he sees Shikadai's corner of his jacket, but the information tells him the whole scene. Like I think he's either seeing nothing, being told everything, or he's seeing everything and being told that way. I don't think there's like a mismatch per se. I think he just sees everything, and that's how he knows everything.
Okay, so this isn't written down, but what do we think 10 Directions is? Is it literally in the back of Koji's brain, like, or is Koji's soul transported to a different dimension, or is it metaphorical and it doesn't actually? That's not actually what Koji's seeing at all with the scenes. It's just for the audience depiction. Like, can Koji close his eyes to not see 10 Directions, or how is this working?
So it's possible, obviously, that like Koji doesn't actually see, and it's just the honest perspective. But he does describe it as the power to see all possible futures, I believe, rather than know all possible futures. So I assume he sees it just based on what he's directly saying, and then obviously the audience is being shown glimpses of that. And I think what's happening is essentially when his eyes roll back, it would be really okay. There's two interpretations. The funnier one is that his eyes roll back to see his brain where the visions are being like stored. You know, he's looking at the visions rather than the real world. The other one is he's just like going crazy as it happens to him. It's just like when he's under the effect of 10 Directions, he just gets all like possessed and crazy, and then that's just happening while it happens to him, kind of thing. It's one or the other, probably.
Kamui, why is your mic always so bad?
What do you mean?
It's roboting like crazy.
That's not the mic then. That's just one of our Wi-Fi's.
Probably. Looking on my phone to see chat, Zion Daily Clips says, makes no sense how. Well, Zion Daily Clips, if you're new to the channel, we explain in great detail why the things we say make no sense. To the point that you can go see the playlist on our channel of everything that we've said makes no sense to catch up. But otherwise, we'll, just stick around, and we're currently explaining why it makes no sense through 10 Directions.
Yeah. But we've barely scratched the surface here, so be patient.
Your mic is still robotic.
Let me try, like, leaving Discord, reconnecting things, and blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Wow, while he's doing that, what do you think about that Zion Daily Clips? And hello, Space! Hi, I see you too! Now, chat, this won't be a Boruto stream. You got tricked. Yeah, I mean, basically, at this point, we really don't know. But hello, Kamui! Somebody finally reply to YouTube comments. Yes, hello, Zion Daily Clips! Don't get used to it, because this might be the last time that I check comments, because I probably will forget. But and or be busy talking to Kami about other topics.
Is this any better?
Well, hopefully, but I'll let you know if it's not. So, Koji seeing 10 directions. So, Momoshiki sees fragments of one future, seemingly. Does Koji see just fragments of all possible futures, or does he see everything of all possible futures?
Well, even then, we still don't know whether Momoshiki saw fragments or not, because there's different things he say that, as well as Ikimoto has said, that kind of lean you in both directions, but it obviously can't be both. It's one or the other. You either sees fragments or he sees the whole thing. Unless you mean fragments in terms of he sees one section of the future, which would be like the whole omnipotent shenanigan. But when we say that, it would be like he's seeing the whole scene versus fragments of the whole scene, is the question.
Because we'll just agree for the sake of this that Koji is seeing more than what the audience is being shown. But is Koji seeing everything off screen, or is he just seeing more than what we're seeing off screen? Similar to Momoshiki, who seemingly must have seen more than what we know. He
definitely saw more than Boruto.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like a few other things that he saw that just Boruto didn't see. So he just makes it very clear.
Yeah. By the way, your mic is still awful. If you can just like reset your Wi-Fi or something. I don't know.
I don't know how to reset. So is it like the same situation as before I switched to the better mic, or is that like a different problem?
Oh, I mean, all of tonight, it's just been bad. It's like every other word is robot-y.
Does anything?
I mean, I can comprehend you, but I mean,
is better or worse?
I think it's the same. But I agree, it's probably not the mic.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to do, so.
Okay, well, hopefully it just is good. So, 10 directions. So, if Koji...
Alright, so anyway, I mean, I think Koji has to be seeing that, at the very least, a lot more than we saw, because, again, like, he's seeing such specific things. Like, he sees the exact process over years of how Boruto developed Flying Raijin, and that would be the most nonsensically convenient snippets of Shikai's jacket's worth of information Koji would be seeing to know all of that over the course of years. That is just too lucky, too much of a coincidence to be real. Among other things, like all the information, the very specific information he has. It's like, there's no way his snapshots are like only Yodo dying at Sarada's eyes change, and only the Thorn Souls information, and only Jura killing Boruto, and only Boruto specifically saying how we master Flying Raijin every year. Like, you know, it's like, there's no way. It's clearly seeing it pretty fluidly.
I mean, what
and
if
the only things he also describes, he sees everything except the singularity of fate stuff. It wouldn't be like Koji's conclusion wouldn't be Boruto must have told Kawaki something as a singularity, or else he would think the other possibility would still be, oh, whoops, my snapshots didn't show me this. Ah, unlucky me. But he specifically says Boruto must have told Kawaki something because, as he explained earlier, the only thing he can't see is Singularity of Fate shenanigans, which implies he's seeing everything very detailed. Like,
Yeah. Your mic is still bad, by the way, but whatever. I mean, there wasn't some manual that came with 10 directions, and I don't think he can understand 10 directions just by using it to the degree that he does. So I feel like it has to be just instinctively, once he unlocked the ability, he just understood what it is and how to use it, and like Singularity to Fate and all the other things about 10 directions.
yeah.
Like, he probably didn't come up with the name.
The thing was experience, but
yeah, I'm sure it's like Shibai came up with a name, and because he has Shibai's 10 directions, he just knows the name is 10 directions. Just like Sasuke with the Matarasu. I mean, he might have heard the name, but you get the idea. Just like Kakashi with Kamui, there's a better example. But either way, I'm just saying, if Koji is just seeing fragments of the future, the most lucky fragments of all time, where he's big brain deducing everything, then hey, fair. Exactly. But like 10 directions,
like, it also goes against like everything else he's saying. So also apparently, yeah, I guess it sounds awful because Zion Daily Eclipse has made a comment about the roboting. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Well, stop roboting,
the only thing
idiot.
The only thing I can do is switch to my phone, use my LTE, and the bad mic. It's the only other option.
Kamui's about to start rapping with that robot voice. Hey, you guys. Honestly, it'd probably be better just to switch to your bad mic if that's the case.
Alright, hold on. Let me go get my other headphones from my phone. Sorry,
like,
we'll see. Give me a second. I'm gonna walk upstairs and come back down. I'll be silent for a minute.
Okay. Well, chat, what do you think? In fact, let me, if I can, let me make it a... Can I make a poll on my phone? Can I do that? How do I know? Can I, no? Am I, oh, it's probably because I'm not logged into the... No, I am logged in. Okay, I can't make a poll on my phone. That's not a thing I can do. Okay, no. Oh, okay. I guess not. Well, I guess I just can't make a poll on my phone. Sorry. I would have done it if I could, but I apparently can't. So there's that. This is very annoying. What's this trim button? Oh, cool. I can make a clip on my phone, but it's only like 15 seconds or whatever, so it's not actually what... What's up, Hey Station? It looks like Oodie has no powers. That's right. Can I even, like, moderate on my phone if I wanted to? Yeah, I can. Okay, I can. So hey, don't test me, guys! So are y'all trying to go in depth on how Boruto telling Kawaki about his limiters got past him? We're going to be getting to that. We haven't got to that yet because I have an explanation, but yes. What's up, Kamui?
Okay, better or worse?
Okay, you're still roboting, so that doesn't work. But just keep it for now, maybe it'll fix. Keep it for now, maybe it'll fix.
This is implying to me that it's you then, because there's just no way.
I mean, I don't see why you're coming to that conclusion so definitively.
Because I've tried 3 different mics, 3 different internet services, one of which isn't internet, it's 5G LTE. There's no way.
I mean, I agree, it's not the mic.
Really bad. Actually, 4 different mics at different points.
I agree it's not the mic, but the internet service provider isn't gonna matter if it's the Wi-Fi in your general area tonight. If it's a cloudy night, then it's not gonna matter which one you're using.
Yeah, but it's like the LTE versus the Wi-Fi aren't gonna be the same situation.
But it's always you when there's other people
That's not
here.
At all. It's usually you who has the problem.
Well,
also, it's just if this isn't better, then I'm just gonna go re-switch to the other one again.
Okay. Well, if Archduke wants to join in on the conversation, I bet he won't be roboting. But yeah, feel free to go switch back to the other one.
Okay, hold on a minute again.
So Archduke, if you would like to join, yes, space chat is broken. If you would like to join, just let us know. While we're at it, let me go let Devin know, since I know he definitely wants to join. But chat, how are you doing tonight? Okay. So back to the topics. Hey Station, if you would like to join, feel free. Just let us know. Yeah. But back to the topics, as I was saying. So yeah, Tin Directions seemingly might suck if it's just confusingly vague glimpses of all possible futures, but moving on from that. So, different topic, but still Tin Directions related. So, Kamui. Koji seemingly is forced to see updates. But that has no bearing on whether or not he can use Tin Directions manually to check what he's already seen before. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what is your current hypothesis for how Tin Directions works in this regard?
He either has the ability to go back and relook, or he automatically just remembers everything he's seen. He just automatically remembers it. This is kind of ridiculously insane, but that is possible. So that he never needs to check it again.
So the closest comparison I could make to this concept would be Itachi implanting that triggerable Amaterasu into Sasuke, whereas Sasuke can also just use his own Amaterasu at will whenever he wants. But it's whenever he sees Obito's Mangekyo or whatever, he's gonna activate it.
Mm-hmm.
Only that one-time use, but you get the idea. So basically, in this case, the Itachi implanting would just be the updates to where it's forced to be automatically used on a certain condition. The condition is it updates, whereas Koji could just use it whenever he wants as well.
Well, the question is, do you think in any scenes Koji did relook at 10 Directions? Or do you think he just is just telling people what he remembered?
Because that's the problem, because if it's a lot of stuff to remember, well, if Koji sees it, is it just fused with his consciousness to where he can't forget it? Or if hypothetically, Koji doesn't use 10 Directions for 52 years, and 52 years later, he's just like, hey guys, this is what I saw. Would he have to recheck, or does he just remember?
That's what I'm saying, because they obviously don't see him doing the eye roll any other time. So, is that update specific? Is it was he doing things off screen? I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
He's always just asking Ada, how's it going? Which that kind of, okay, you know what, actually? That implies to me he can't check to some extent, because technically speaking, if he could just check constantly, I feel like, let's just say, for example, after Sarada destroys Ryu, if he were to check, unless he can only check from the previous update spot.
Well, that's what I'm assuming,
he should just know all the other timelines that weren't Sarada Awakening Mangekyo were snuffed out. We just do it to be the past. So it just by default would start with Sarada having Mangekyo and Ryu being defeated. Unless he can only revert back to his update spots.
I think
at which point that just means every 6 days or whatever. Okay, you can probably remember that. So
yeah, I don't think it's every 6 days, but that's the point. Besides the point, because it'd be weird for Koji to mention the 6-day thing there if it's consistently every 6 days. He would also know that an update's about to come as well. So.
I agree. I agree. I don't think it's every 6 days, but my point being, it was pretty recent. So.
Yeah. Also, be a weird, nonsensical time limit for 6 days randomly.
I know, rather than 7.
But I think he does probably revert back to the last previous update, which is a weird way to say it. It's he's on the current version, the current 10 directions that it can currently see. Maybe the futures or whatever that have been snuffed out stay snuffed out. But unless it updates, then I can't see him seeing anything new. Unless it's just he's continuing down the path of those same possible futures, which wouldn't be an update to add new possible futures, but
That's what I'm
continuing to
saying.
see those same futures.
It's possible he wouldn't see new futures per se, but he would just see which ones were removed, potentially.
Yeah. Well, it's beyond that. Okay, let me make a graph. I'm gonna share my screen so you can see this. Okay, we're gonna explain 10 directions from this perspective. Okay, so we have Koji in the middle right here. Okay, that's a bad straight line. We have Koji in the middle right here. And this is going to be all the timelines. So you got timeline 1, you got timeline 2, 3, 4, and 5, and etc., infinitely. Just infinite, yeah. Okay, so this is like where 10 directions caps off at, is like right here or whatever. So we're going to say Koji's here, and randomly this timeline gets snuffed out, so it just can't happen anymore. We'll say Koji's here. He moves up to here, it gets snuffed out. Then he moves up to here, this one gets snuffed out, and also this one. Okay, so he has 2 uses left, or 2 potential futures left. Which one's it gonna be? He doesn't know. But once he gets here, then rather than updating, no updates yet, it's okay, well, now that he's not here, but he's now here, say like 5 months in the future or whatever, to see these 2 different paths, now he can see 5 months in the future of both of these paths without an update. So let's just say he can always see like 3 years in the future with 10 directions. So this is like the 3-year mark for when he first uses it, and then like from here, this is the 3-year mark. So it's just always he can see 3 years in the future, no matter where he starts from, without like an update changing that, if that makes sense.
Well, it's a possibility, but I don't think it is that way, because he just sees like, how quickly do you think a divine tree can absorb a planet in the first place? How long do you think that process takes?
Well,
based off of everything they've implied, which is that it takes a while.
I mean, well, first of all, I think it's changed throughout time based on whatever Ikimoto's feeling that day, but it could take thousands of years, or 1,000 years, or a couple millennia, as they say. Likewise, it could be freaking tomorrow, as far as we're aware.
But I feel like all of it pretty consistently has implied a long time at the very least.
Yeah, but that just doesn't really make sense based on other things as well. It can't just be a long time, but it also is said to only be a long time.
Yeah, so
because of the future, the
that,
Earth isn't even as
in
a
world devoured, so
exactly.
He might be seeing 1,000 years into the future.
Like, why does Amado even care to stop Jigen? It's not going to happen. Like, their grandkids are going to be safe if Jigen does successfully start the tree now.
That's a good point.
So it doesn't matter. But then also, I feel like Ikimoto really wrote himself into a hole here by saying that he's seeing like 6 years in the future or whatever for Boruto to learn Uzuhiko, meaning that Boruto's alive for 6 years.
Well, in at least one future, but
yes, but that just means Jura's not really a threat. In my opinion.
Not anytime soon. So that kind of gets into a separate discussion. But what that does kind of imply is that in those futures, you could argue that the reason Jura's being a threat like now is because they're trying to eliminate the threat now, which is what's causing Jura to become a threat sooner. So like in the original futures, Jura might have been a threat 6 years from now, not because he just got strong over 6 years, but because 6 years later he decided to make a move. Whereas, in this version, they're trying to make the move preemptively before Jura gets to the ridiculous level he eventually gets to. which could be why he's making moves now. So like it might be like a gamble in that sense, if that made sense anyway.
I mean,
Hopefully the robot
technically
go
it's
away.
possible, but I feel like Koji probably doesn't need to tell people to not make Jura mad, because in a way he's making them a singularity fate. Not really, but kind of. But like, I'm sure the possible future he's seeing to where Jura doesn't destroy the world within 6 years is one to where he's not made mad for obvious reasons. And I'm assuming that's the future where Koji didn't tell anyone not to make him mad.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those futures anyway. Unless Koji sees, because I forgot where we mentioned this, but there is a possibility that Koji's the one singularity of fate he can see, like himself, because he became a singularity of fate the moment he got the ability. So anytime it updates after that, he might be able to see himself in the future. Like, for example, he might see futures where Koji teaches Boruto Uzahiko early because he became a singularity fate so long ago, but he wouldn't be able to see what happens if he makes someone else it because they're not singularities yet. That's a possibility. It's also possible that he just does, and I think it's better this way, by the way. It's also possible, and hopefully the case, that he just can't see anything influenced by him telling people about the future either.
Interesting. Okay.
But it is possible that he can't see it because he's the immediate full singularity.
Okay.
I just hope not.
Yes.
Because then he would just know too much about how he can influence the future. Again, he doesn't know everything, but he knows more, and it's a lot.
Yeah. Okay, with that being said, going back to 10 Directions.
By the way, is it still really bad?
It's still robotic, yes.
Well, I guess I have no shame going on the treadmill in a minute then.
Alright. I mean, but chat, what do you think? Do you think Koji's forced to see the updates, or does he just realize that there's an update, and so he wants to check it as soon as possible? So he's just like, Ada, shut up, I'm checking an update. Like, which one is it?
But then the question is, does the eye roll happen because he's forced into an update, or is he eye rolling? Like, the moment he says, I'm going to check an update, he's forced into an eye roll. Like, I feel like he's forced to see it personally, just the way it feels, but...
I feel like it has to be the fact that he's forced into the update, because otherwise, Ikimoto did just retcon the first time that Koji used 10 Directions and didn't do the eye roll, and had it happen immediately as well.
Yeah.
Zion says, Koji might pull up on the battlefield during a crazy battle and say, I now can use the 10 Directions at any point in time. That's
a problem.
But then Wavy says, it seems like it's random, but I wonder if it has a certain cooldown. I think I'd be okay with a cooldown. Yeah, so instead of it's just like a every 6-day interloop thing or whatever, it's just like it's like Pain's Shinra Tensei. It's like, oh, the 5-second cooldown. In this case, it's gonna be more than 5 seconds. Or like Shisui's like 10-year cooldown or whatever. So they can use it once it's cooled down. They could just choose when to use it once it's cooled down.
Yeah, but the way it was with Koji, it was like, oh, hold on, Ada, I'm getting an update coming. So it's not like, oh, hold on, Ada, I'm now going to choose to do this. It's like,
yeah,
like he was notified. He got a notification saying there was an update.
Well, Wavy agrees. I don't think he can stop what he sees. Thank you for that comment, Wavy. We're doing a really good job of reading chat tonight.
So we can keep it up.
The one time that chat's literally broken.
That's extra funny.
So
maybe that's why it motivates us to check.
So the next thing here, this isn't really 10 Directions, but more like how the story's played out. So Koji said it's likely that Bug does not go to the sand. You know, Mamushi, the Bug Shinju. So I know that like this whole sand mission isn't over just yet, but do we think those possible futures have already been snuffed out? Have they been closed off, or can he show up in the future still? What's up with the bug
Depends on
showing
whether
up?
that
Possibility.
is that bug panel we saw in this arc or a future arc.
Well, if so, at what point / what choice was made for Bug to or not to go? Because he's been just
I have an answer I would like.
he's just been lounging around. He's not like watching seemingly. I mean, maybe he is. He seemingly has as good as eyes as Jura does, so he could be watching, but he's just chilling there. He doesn't seem like he wants to go help or care. Boruto showed up and he still doesn't care, and that made Jura care. So if anything, it's like Jura seemed less likely to go than Bug did if Boruto never shows up. Did Bug not show up because Boruto showed up? But I feel like then Koji would know that and then wouldn't tell later that'd be weird if it's that case.
There's
I mean, maybe
a lot
actually,
of like
maybe that could work.
questions there, obviously.
Yeah, maybe let's just say hypothetically they defeat Ryu and Matsuri, so they have both their soul thorns, and Jura doesn't want to go himself. He could send Bug instead of going, but because Boruto showed up, he chose to go himself. That could be a decision. That's a choice right there. That could work.
Yeah, I suppose, because this kind of gets into I don't know if I wrote it in Boruto Topics or if I wrote it in my script.
In fact, adding on to that, maybe that's the reason Koji didn't want Boruto to go just yet, because he wanted Bug to show up so that Boruto could go there, kill Bug with everyone else, and then have all 3 of their soul thorns, potentially before Juro shows up so that they could teleport the soul thorns away. I don't know. Make stuff up. Maybe he specifically wanted Bug's soul thorn for whatever reason. But now Bug's not gonna go.
What? Because I have a few different things that all feel somewhat related. So let's start with one thing. So one of which is related to something I realized in my podcast topic. I just accidentally cut it short. I just didn't read the bottom little segment of one. Yeah. So I'm eventually going to get to it, but I'm going to go over more things. So my question would be, so we've discussed this before. Why did Koji tell Boruto about the sand mission at all? Right? That's one of our questions. So, like, Koji makes it extremely clear that he didn't want Boruto to go to the Sand Village anytime soon at the very least. So, seemingly, at the absolute earliest, he didn't want Boruto to go until after both Ryu and Matsuri had been defeated. Because he didn't want Boruto to defeat Matsuri for Konohamaru. So, this would either be Konohamaru as defeat Matsuri, or if Konohamaru loses, someone else would have to beat Matsuri. So the question is, who is that going to be? So if you have to pick one person, it's probably Mitsuki. Mitsuki was supposed to finish off Matsuri. However, real quick, all right, hold on, let me just read my script here. Actually, real quick, sorry, I'm really sorry. Can you go to the podcast topic just so everyone can see that where I mentioned that Jura can seemingly share senses with the Thorn Souls themselves? It's fairly recent. If you can just go to that real quick.
Okay, is it the most recent one? No, it is.
It's one with images.
One with
it's got images. Koji, Boruto holding a Thorn Soul and all that.
Yes, okay.
Okay. So, you look at what's happening. Boruto's just talking to the toad on his neck, seemingly quiet enough that, like, nobody really noticed that he was doing that. Specifically talking, like, so he's probably talking pretty quietly. And then Koji tells him it's the Thorn Souls. The frog was saying it. Then Kawaki was asking him stuff. And then he starts talking to Kawaki. And mind you, he's not screaming at the top of his lungs to Kawaki. He's just telling him, like, hey, it's something that'll help save my master. I'm going to cut your arm off if you don't let me go. And then Jura specifically says, he comments on the fact that Boruto knows about the Thorn Soul Bulb already, which is why he's dangerous and needs to die. Mind you, Jura was really far away. Nowhere, you couldn't even see the people before Jura left. He was extremely far away. So unless Jura really just heard the conversation from 3-ish miles away outside of the Leaf Village, this scene would imply that he's sharing the senses through the Thorn Souls, just like he does with Matsuri in general, which is how he knew about everything that was being said and done between Matsuri and Konohamaru. He did have to share senses, as Koji explained. So this scene pretty much implies he can do the same with the Thorn Souls themselves. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. With that in mind, if Mitsuki defeated Matsuri and Boruto was meant to actually just read what I wrote down. Sorry, backtrack, but just keep that in mind. Why did Koji Boruto with the same mission at all? Koji makes it clear he doesn't want Boruto to go the same mission until after Matsuri and Ryu had both been defeated at the absolute earliest, if he even wanted to go at all. However, the fact that Boruto planted flying Raijin markers there implies that Boruto not only knew exactly where the battles would be located, but he was supposed to arrive there eventually. Why else would Koji have Boruto plant flying Raijin markers there? So why? So the question is, what purpose was this for? If Koji didn't want Boruto to go until after Ryu and Matsuri had both been defeated, what role would Boruto even need to play at that point? Sure, Boruto could probably free Moegi and Shinki faster than everyone else, but they don't need Boruto to do it in general. In fact, Araya literally leaves with Ryu's Thorn Soul to go free Shinki before Boruto even shows up. So, it's not been communicated to the team to do this, and they don't need Boruto. They don't need a rush on this. They just need to do it eventually. And more importantly, all right, this is just me mentioning Jura can share sense with the Thorn Souls. If that's the case, so Jura can share senses with Thorn Souls, that means that Jura would still know when Boruto shows up. So let's just say hypothetically, Mitsuki defeats Matsuri and Starter defeats Ryu. If Boruto shows up so he can take the Thorn Souls, Jura would still know. It doesn't matter if Matsuri's dead or alive. He's gonna know regardless, which means he would still appear to kill Boruto like he does originally, which Koji obviously wouldn't want. So he wouldn't want Boruto to show up in this instance under any circumstances. He would never want Boruto to go to the Sand Village. And if that's the case, there's really no reason to tell Boruto about the Sand Mission in the first place. If Boruto asks questions, Koji can just lie or withhold more information than he already did to make the mission less bad than it is, considering the fact that he's literally withholding about Yodo's death from Boruto, knowing that Boruto's obviously going to eventually find out that he did so. So why not withhold everything else? Why risk it? Couple of ideas. Why not implant? Why would Koji implant the idea of Konohamaru possibly dying into Boruto's head when there's no need to do so? He could instead lie and say that Kawaki's going to show up when the limiter's off because Koji told Boruto about this anyway. Or if he's really so worried that Boruto's going to nag him at the hideout, why not have Boruto guard Himawari under protecting her in case Jura shows up to capture her or to ensure that she doesn't leave the village, which will lead to her death? Probably would have convinced Boruto. I see why Boruto wouldn't just believe it. Koji can literally just be like, hey, Boruto, hang out with Himawari. If you don't, she's going to die. That'll convince him. Jura's not going to know if Boruto does that because he doesn't have Clawgrind in the bookstore. He has to go there himself. He's not going to do so if he just doesn't know. So what was Koji's plan? So one can only assume that Mitsuki was supposed to finish Matsuri off after she devoured Konohamaru. Then what? Because in this case, Ryu and Matsuri are both defeated, and Boruto hadn't shown up. Was Jura just never going to show up unless Boruto showed up first? If so, then why was Koji in chapter 16 up in the first place? Because he specifically told Shikamaru that they need to send the smallest team possible to prevent Jura from showing up. He wouldn't say that unless he saw Jura showing up in futures where a larger team was sent, which implies that like Jura has a chance of showing up. So is he just not going to show up if Mitsuki and Sarada beat the Shinju? He just doesn't care. So what was Koji's plan? If what if he did show up? Jura shows up because Mitsuki defeats Matsuri. But what are they gonna do? The only thing they can do is just leave the Thorn Souls behind and run away. Well, then what does Koji gain? The only thing he gains is Sarada's Mangekyo, which, to be fair, is one of the most critical aspects of the battle, but it's not the only aspect of the battle he was looking for. So, and alternatively, though, what if Mitsuki lost to Matsuri? Everyone's just gonna die, including Sarada, who's knocked out. So, what's the plan for Boruto to teleport there, then teleport everyone away to safety? If so, then why not do that in the first place? Why did Boruto chit-chat with Konohamaru and give Jura time to arrive instead of just teleporting to Mitsuki and Sarada, then teleporting away to safety? If Koji had communicated this hypothetical future plan, then there would be nothing for Boruto to not attempt to follow it when he kills Matsuri. So, like, what was Koji's plan? Was his plan for Mitsuki to get a power-up too, Sarada to wake up, and Kawaki to show up with his limiters off just a little bit later than he did originally, and then Boruto shows up, so all of Team 7 gangs up on Jura? What was his plan? What do you think? I'm done.
I mean, Kamui, if you were going to talk for like 5 minutes straight, I could have just gone to the bathroom.
Well, I didn't realize it was going to go on that long. Well,
same.
Speed walking on the incline.
Yeah, I love the fact that you never stopped even once on the treadmill just to say your thing. You just were out of breath that entire time. Ridiculous.
Walky Talky podcast.
It's like, I don't know how you even read when you're on a treadmill. Like, are your eyes not jolting up and down as you take steps?
Bro, I'm reading and holding a separate microphone in my hand.
Ridiculous, Kamui. Ridiculous.
Walky Talky podcast. Where we walkie while we talk.
Okay.
We basically run it while we talkie.
So, about Koji's plan, let's just say that he does lie to Boruto and he does tell him to go protect Himawari, who's in the Leaf Village, so Boruto's out of the way, he just never shows up. So Boruto can do that, but would Koji be acting as a singularity of fate by telling him that? Because that wouldn't be a possible future that he's seen, seemingly. So he's just saying something that he doesn't know what will happen the result of, because hypothetically, Jura obviously wants to find and kill / get the information about Boruto's accomplice out of Boruto. And so if he knows where Boruto is, and oh hey, he's right next to my target, I'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It's a win-win. Perfect. Maybe he goes, maybe that updates 10 directions, and Koji, with the singularity of fate nonsense, wants to keep the possibilities as minimized as possible.
So I agree with that one, except for the fact that Jura wouldn't know. There's no way for him to know. His claw grime are outside the village. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say the whole village is surrounded by claw grime. But they're not in the village, harassing the villagers. But they took care of him. So he wouldn't know if Boruto teleports in the middle of Himawari's house. He just wouldn't know that.
So where is it not wrong? I feel like there's ways for him to know.
Well, he would have to be actively trying to, like, get the information in advance without knowing to do so.
Not necessarily. Well, for example, if Boruto teleports into Himawari's house, I'm assuming the sensory division's gonna pick that up unless he can teleport with his chakra signature closed off. What, are they gonna tell Shikamaru and Shikamaru's gonna keep it hush-hush? So I feel like the village is gonna know that Boruto's there. I feel like Shikamaru's not allowed to keep it hush-hush.
You already answered your question, though. He'll just do it with his chakra signature mask.
But can he do that while teleporting?
He's seemingly done it before.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure there's a scene of him having done so.
if you mean the chapter 1 thing, I'm not gonna say that he was doing it there.
Either way, I still think there just are lore scenes of them having done that.
Sure, if you mean like chapter like 7 or whatever when he's hiding from Kawaki, maybe. But
Yeah, I think it has happened at the very least.
But I mean, let's just say it does. Okay, is Boruto gonna be overprotective? Is he not gonna let Himawari go out of the house? If Himawari has friends that come over, oh, Chocho's gonna see Boruto's there. Oh, hey, Shikamaru, Boruto's here. Let the village know. Oh, Ino, tell everyone. And then what?
Well, to be fair, Boruto could just like hide.
What, under Himawari's bed? He's a monster now, in Himawari's closet.
He doesn't have to be
not Five Nights at Freddy's.
He doesn't need to do that. All he needs, because Himawari was already informed not to leave the village, like by Shikamaru. So Himawari presumably knows. All Boruto has to do is hide and watch, and it's only because Koji's telling him to do that. So Boruto's perspective just wouldn't know what Himawari is going to do. He's just going to make sure she doesn't leave the village. But
Yeah,
he would
but
never
I feel
actually do it.
I feel like Boruto would have to make sure she doesn't leave her house.
No, he
that
just needs to be
no one else
outside the
comes
house.
over.
Just watch her from the shadow. It's the same way Koji was walking around the village in the whole Kawaki arc, just hiding in the freaking tower.
Well, but also, Koji didn't see the Boruto Kawaki conversation. As far as Koji's aware, Kawaki still wants to kill him. Oh, but his chakra signature is turned off.
Well, no,
Ada would still be able to
He's aware
see.
that they teamed up. He's aware that they teamed up because Ada literally told him.
At what point?
Chapter 16. She
Okay.
tells Shikamaru while Koji's toad is actively on her neck, listening to their conversation.
I mean, Koji might not have been listening. Who knows?
He's definitely listening.
You never know. Maybe it's like paid with this like glitch in the Wi-Fi system when Himawari or when Hinata punched him that one time.
It was heavily implied he was listening because when Shikamaru was talking about Koji, he's like, "You're as sharp as ever, Shikamaru. You figured it out." Like he was listening. What he said.
Maybe he was just commenting on the fact that Shikamaru seemed to pick up whatever weird thing Ada was saying that he couldn't understand.
Now, but realistically speaking, he knows that Boruto and Kawaki teamed up, which he wasn't surprised about, which implies that he told Boruto about the limiters to get them to team up. But then I don't know why he'd be like, what was the plan? Like, that only makes sense if the plan was for Kawaki to do something in the relatively near future. Otherwise, why have Boruto do this at that time? Like, why would he do that?
Well, Damon seems pretty close to Himawari. Maybe Damon goes over and kills Boruto.
And obviously,
Yeah, I can see him getting
You know
carried
that
away
Boruto
and
is
just
no-
having a fun fight.
but Damon hasn't been interested in finding Boruto yet, or else he would have gone after him.
Yeah, I
Would have done
agree.
it when he had the chance.
I agree. Yeah, but maybe if Boruto, if Damon thinks that Boruto's a threat to Himawari, maybe.
He doesn't think that Oodie. He's not under omnipotence.
I know. But I still feel
but
like there's
regardless-
ways for Jura to
regardless.
figure it out. But either way.
Well,
mean-
unreasonable. But regardless, he doesn't have to do the Himawari guard mission. The point is, Koichi doesn't need to tell him as much as he did for any reason.
No, I
even if
agree
he
with
did,
that.
Like, again, well, even then, though, let's just go with what he told him. Why did he tell him this? What was his plan? What was Boruto's role? Because again, he clearly told Boruto the specific battlefield locations, given that he has the flying Martian workers there in the first place. He told everyone where to go so that they would be in those spots. So he clearly wanted Boruto to go there eventually, but when and why? Because, as we established, Jura's going to know when he shows up. And if the plan was for Boruto to show up and teleport and leave before Jura gets there, Boruto easily could have done so if he didn't just talk to Konohamaru and wait for Jura to get there. He was taking the Sword Souls and left, which tells us that Boruto specifically wanted to stay by Jura, probably because he assumed Kawaki was going to show up eventually. It's probably his plan. But then, what was Koji's plan? Like, why wouldn't
Yeah.
Koji just expect Boruto to kill Matsuri and leave?
Well, real quick on the Himawari mission one, even though you said that they don't have to do that, but just debunking that further to thoroughly prove you're wrong. So, okay, so I think Koji would also want to minimize Boruto being around Himawari. One, in case Boruto goes haywire from his loving sister connection that he has, and he doesn't want to do Koji's plan, and he just wants to hang out in the village or something, I don't know. But two, he obviously wouldn't want Singularity of Fate nonsense to slip out, since he almost blabbed to Sarada about it just from sitting down with her for like 5 minutes, and you know Himawari gonna be asking some questions. And maybe it's important for Himawari's growth with Kurama or whatever if she just doesn't know whatever Boruto nonsense that she would ask and Boruto would answer.
Boruto doesn't have to interact with Himawari a single time. He just has to watch it from a distance. We've seen a billion missions like this in Naruto and Boruto filler arcs. Like, we know this works.
What I think would be cool is if he does do the Himawari Protect mission, but Himawari doesn't know it, and the village doesn't know it because Boruto's masking chakra signature, and because he's transformed into someone else. Or as someone else.
Perfect. There you go. Koji could have come up with that plan.
I'm down for that filler. That'd be a freaking cool episode. I'm down.
I agree. It would be one of the coolest things that they've ever done to Vortex, but
that's why they love it.
So I'm not gonna say it's quote unquote bad writing that Ikido doesn't come up with this Himawari guard mission idea that he did. Okay, I'm not gonna say it's bad writing, but my point is there were a lot of options, and the simplest one is just tell Boruto less. But even if you want to go with what he told them, I'm fine with all that. I just want to know what was his original plan, because it seems like any plan that involves Boruto going there is going to end up with Jura showing up. Because even like if you kill the claw grind first, you can still teleport out of a dead claw grind. We see this once. So that's not going to do anything. So, like, unless Boruto's going to, like, teleport the claw grind away, but then every time he's doing that, Jura can just come out of those. So, like, I don't see how you can get a situation. And plus, the dead claw grind, yeah, he doesn't even need the Thorn Souls to sense Boruto. He can sense via claw grind, so he would just know that he showed up no matter what.
He can sense via claw grimes? You say that because of when he invaded the village, like Chapter 8?
Also, it kind of just makes sense, because they're all like the reasoning for Jura to be able to do this in the first place is because he's the Ten Tails and can share with all the other parts of it. That should apply to the claw grind, and it seemingly did apply to the claw grind. So, yeah.
I wouldn't be too confident on that, but I see why you're saying that. What I will say, this is all under the premise that he can just sense whatever the or the Thorn Souls feel, which I think is fair. But I think it's also fair to say that Jura, with this weird 3-mile-long vision eye sniper thing, he's not hearing what Boruto's saying, but he's watching how Boruto's acting, knowing what the Thorn Soul is, and he's just like, oh, Boruto knows what it is. That doesn't explain
that's certainly possible.
It wouldn't explain how Jura knows about the accomplice, but maybe if he knows that there's no way for Boruto to know, then it has to be an accomplice.
Well, even then, though, how can you necessarily deduce that Boruto knows just because he grabs the Konohamaru did the same thing? I mean, I guess he did know at that point, but like...
Well, Konohamaru wouldn't have an accomplice.
But even then, though, I feel like he definitely heard... I don't know, like...
I mean, it's possible.
Unless he was just hearing like dead clockwork on the ground near them. That's also possible. I mean, either way.
Yeah. Well, because if Mitsuki kills those claw grimes and then heads over to where Konohamaru is and he's far enough away, and then they kill Matsuri, so then there's no Shinju and no claw grimes in their immediate vicinity, then Boruto can teleport there without Jura noticing, assuming that neither of those would work, obviously.
Yeah, you have to assume that neither are the case when we do have some implications pointing in the direction that Jura can sense via both claw grime and Thorns. So you have to assume that neither is the case. But even then, just based on how long it took Jura to
get there. I'm still asking why Boruto didn't just teleport and leave, or why Koji didn't want Boruto to do that. Because Koji doesn't necessarily know that Boruto's going to stay and fight Juro. There's probably some futures where Boruto chooses to leave first, I would imagine. So it's just like from Koji's perspective, whether Boruto shows up immediately after Matsuri's kill versus showing up 5 seconds, it's just like he has time to teleport away.
I mean, it's possible that Jura just can sense wherever Boruto is, no matter where on Earth he is. I mean, he does say at the end of like chapter 4 or 5, "Oh, it doesn't matter where you go, I'll eventually find you." He could be listening to Matsuri's trees, who could tell him, and if they're all over the world, then it could be true.
Okay, but then he would know where Boruto and Koji are right now. He wouldn't need to go through all these hassles.
Koji's doing the Genjutsu blocker nonsense thing, so it's a possibility. For his hideout.
Okay, well, let's just go with that hypothetical. Then no matter what, why was Koji planning on having Boruto show up? Because in all situations, he would know, no matter what.
I mean, maybe Jura just doesn't show up in some possibilities.
The question is why? Because he makes it seem like every time Boruto shows up, Jura is showing up. That's why he doesn't want Boruto to go. So why does he want him to eventually go?
So that's where we get to
change Jura's...
I agree with you. I think Koji likely wanted Boruto to show up. But before getting to that, there's also the possibility to where he didn't want Boruto to show up, but also telling him can make sense. If he just wants Boruto to trust him, he can't just lie to Boruto or hide information from him. And he wants to be as trustworthy as possible so Boruto will continue believing in him and doing what he says so that they can have that good relationship. And so he just would tell him under that premise. And also Boruto's very curious and questioning anyways. So if Boruto asks, then Koji's basically forced into answering without lying to an extent.
I suppose that I'm fine with, but why have him plant flying Raijin markers there?
To be fair, we don't know when he did that. He could have done that
without giving him the ability to show up.
Okay, he couldn't have done that from before he met Koji because he hadn't learned the flying Raijin nonsense yet. But he could have done that years ago still. He could have flying Raijin markers
why would
all over the world.
Koji choose specifically the spot where those are?
What do you mean?
Instead of anywhere else?
Oh, for what?
He made the meeting spots between like Konohamaru and the Sand People and all that. It's a place where Boruto has flying Raijin markers.
Do you mean that because Koji had that toad die where it was, seemingly? Because did he expect...
Well, that's actually an extra. That's an extra thing.
What were you thinking?
But also because Boruto has more than one flying Raijin marker in the area of both spots. Just has them there. Mitsuki's picking up a piece of metal, a different piece of metal just floating in the air by Konohamaru. There's at least 2 pieces of metal
that look identical, which goes against the original point of the metals being different shapes.
Yep, but ignoring that, he just has flying Raijin markers in the area, and it's clear that like this was planted. Like it was clearly pre-planned for Mitsuki to find that. Even if Mitsuki didn't know that much, it's clear that Koji like planned that.
Well, I wonder if Dan has any comments on that. If you would like to speak.
That's actually interesting though, because that kind of implies because things were proceeding according to plan by that point. So that kind of implies that like there's only 2 possibilities. Either like those are old Boruto flying Raijin markers from just one village 3 years ago. But after learning from Koji, which would only be a year ago, or they pre-planned this for this mission, but Boruto would only know to do that if he was made a Singularity of Fate, which would mean a lot of the stuff that's happening, Koji wouldn't be able to foresee. So the only explanation is that Koji had Boruto plant those there like 7 days ago before the first update, so that he gets an update after that, which is going off of now, which is after Boruto planted those. It's the only way that can make sense.
No, I
For him to be
do.
able to see this.
I do think, like I was saying a few minutes ago, I do think that Koji plans on Boruto showing up later. He just didn't plan on him showing up yet, so Boruto can do something later. What that is, I don't know.
I know. I
Doesn't really matter as
agree.
of now.
But the question is, well, that's is separate from what I just said. But regardless, the main question is, what was he planning for Boruto to do?
Yeah. But Dan, what do you
What
think?
do you think, Dan?
I don't think Coach was planning on Boruto to do anything.
Then
This was
why did he
all
have
Boruto.
Boruto put flying Raiji markers there?
I think Boruto did that by himself. I don't think
How did
Coach.
he know where to do it?
Probably the information Koji gave him about the mission.
So
Team
why
7
did
was gonna do.
Koji give him that information?
Because
Why did he give him the
he's-
specific coordinates of the mission instead of just saying it's near the sandwich?
he gives Boruto information. That's the whole deal he has with Boruto. He gives him intel. And
He gives them a minimal information,
I
as
mean,
little as possible.
well, Boruto needed to know what was going to happen with this mission, so he probably gave him like information about the mission, and Boruto used it to his advantage.
Why? Oh, well, okay, several things actually, but
I'll be right back.
okay. So the first thing is, so Koji knew that Boruto could show up, which means he knew the flying Raiji markers were there. Like Boruto didn't do that in secret. Like he knows that this is a possibility for Boruto to go there.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, because he's seen the future. He's seen possibilities of Boruto going over there to save them and fight Jiro. So
Yeah.
he probably
So Koji hadn't had an update from 10 Directions in 6 days. So if
Mhm.
Boruto within like, I don't know, let's just say 3 days ago did this in secret, Koji wouldn't be able, even if he told him, he just wouldn't be able to see the results of Boruto's Singularity of Fate actions because he hasn't gotten an update, as we see. Otherwise, he would have known about Kawaki. So if Boruto 3 days ago put these flying Raiji markers there because of things Koji told him, Koji wouldn't know that Boruto was able to show up. You wouldn't be able to see him doing that. So he had to have done it like 7 or 8 days ago, or Koji just from the get-go planned all of that. Like, like, no matter what.
Or maybe Boruto just, or maybe just something Boruto puts there, like just in case of like emergency to escape, in case they like found them in the out or something. Like I don't know, who knows?
Okay, but then why would
They could
Koji
say
choose that as the spot for the mission if he doesn't want Boruto to go there at all?
Wow. Okay, maybe Koji's not involved in the plan then. Maybe this is all Boruto's plan.
Koji definitely planned a lot of this.
I mean, he planned some of the mission, he planned some of it, but I don't think like some of the stuff that happened with Boruto's sim maybe maybe he wasn't aware of that because
Then how did he know Boruto could go there? How did he see Boruto going there in the future if he wasn't aware of this? He would have to be aware by nature of seeing Boruto do this.
That is true. He might have been aware of it, but he might not have been the one. But he might not have been the one to tell Boruto to do it. Maybe Boruto just did it by himself. Because we still don't know. We still don't know like some of the things. The reason why Boruto is doing what he's doing. Why he told Karaki the secret about his limiters. Because I don't think Koji told Boruto to tell Karaki about it. So
I mean, I'll give. We'll come back to that in a minute. I'll give you an actual answer that I think can work. That works from both ends. So why would he tell Boruto to plant these flying Raiji markers there if he doesn't want Boruto to go at all? I'll give you a possible answer. It's to make Ryu and Matsuri think Boruto might show up there. The whole point is for Mitsuki to be like, hey, this is a clue leading to Boruto. Koji could have told Boruto to do that, to plant fake clues, without wanting Boruto to actually go there. I think that'd be reasonable.
Yeah, that is reasonable. Yeah, that's reasonable. Sounds reasonable to me. I actually think that makes more sense.
I think it makes the most sense. What do you think, Oodie? Maybe you went to the bathroom. I guess. Okay, well, never mind his answer. I forgot where I was gonna go with this. Okay, well, we'll just move over to Kawaki then. So the question though is, why would if he didn't want Boruto to tell Kawaki about the limiters, why did he tell Boruto about Kawaki's limiters? Because that is just not related to the Sand mission as far as Koji's concerned. It's not related. Unless the plan was for Kawaki to show up later, but I feel like he would have said, I've never imagined Kawaki showing up this early or something, not just showing up at all. So it doesn't seem like Kawaki was supposed to show up from Koji's perspective. So why did he tell Boruto about the limiters if he didn't want Boruto to tell Kawaki? There's no reason to tell Boruto about this. He does not need it.
I think he might have not told him like currently. I don't think it was like currently something that he told Boruto. This might be something that he told Boruto like around the time skip, like during the time skip, he told him some bunch of infos about the future and stuff like that. He might brought up like the situation with Karaki, saying that, telling him that Karaki might not be strong enough to fight against the the threat that's coming. That's why Karaki always gets killed in the future. I mean, always gets devoured in the future after Boruto gets killed by Juro. So
real quick, this is a side tangent, but I think it's hilarious that in every future where Obito makes Kawaki, quote unquote, near immortal and impossible to kill, he always dies, but he doesn't die when Obito does the reverse. It's so stupid.
If you think about it, it makes sense because they're not trying to kill Karaki like directly. They want to devour him. They want to like sacrifice him to plant the 10 tails. So they need him. I don't know if they need him alive, or I don't know if they can do it while he's dead. They probably need him more alive than dead. So
yeah, he needs to be alive. But the moment he's getting munched on by the Tentails, he's dying clearly.
Yeah,
which means he's not that hard to kill.
Well, not necessarily.
His immortality can protect him from that because he's becoming part of the Tentails. So he's getting devoured. So his power is actually contributing to the Tentails' power. So yeah.
Regardless of that, though, go back to Kawaki's limiters. Sure. Let's just say Koji told Boruto 3 years or a year ago about that. Oh, why? Again, of telling Boruto about Kawaki having limiters. If he doesn't want Boruto to know and tell Kawaki, because what does Boruto gain by that knowledge? All Koji has to say is Kawaki's too weak. And then from Boruto's perspective, okay, Kawaki's got to train. But why would he tell Boruto the way for Kawaki to get stronger if he doesn't want Boruto to communicate that to Kawaki? There's no benefit.
I think
only increasing the odds of singularity of fate shenanigans he can't predict.
I mean, he might have wanted Kawaki to get involved at some point. Maybe not that point in time, but he might have wanted him to get involved at some point. That's
fine. So why tell Boruto as early as he did? Why not wait until the time he wants Kawaki to get involved?
Ikimura wanted him to tell him like early, I guess. Look, I'm not even a fan of this.
Ikimoto did, but the point is, in universe, why would Koji do that?
I don't know. Koji's a mysterious dude. I don't know. Look, I'm not even a fan of this limiter stuff. I thought it was bullshit that Karaki got a limiter. Like, I didn't like that like plot device that they were using because it's like a repeat of Code. And I think the first time
we're getting somewhere with you.
Well,
so there are flaws.
There's nothing saying Kawaki's got his limiters off yet. So
this is a perfect segue for Oodie.
No, we'll do that another time. We'll do that another time. Unless we wanted to do that now.
No. This is your chance to shine. Go for it.
I love the encouragement, Kamui. So, Dan, what do you think about Kawaki in the latest chapter?
Where did you write this?
I think
it's on a different topic.
I don't understand why people are saying Karaki is so powerful. He's so strong. Oh my god, he's stronger than Bones. So, oh my god, he dealt so much damage to Juro. He barely did anything against Juro in his base form. All he did was like stab him through the eye, which did nothing. Sent some rods at Juro, which barely did anything to Juro. and then he went Karma 1.
Well, it's
Straight up,
interesting you
like-
say that, Dan, because, okay, let's roll with the idea that Jura didn't sense Kawaki at all beforehand, which leads me to believe that he flew here instead of teleported, that being Kawaki, and probably while shrunken down too, but that's irregardless. So, going with that, Kawaki just did have a free hit on Jura. And sure, he had to rush so Boruto wouldn't die, despite the fact that Kawaki's probably cockily, arrogantly, confidently in his abilities now in the unlikely event that he got his limiters off, meaning he would be fine with Jura killing Boruto, since Kawaki would maybe likely think he can solo the world at this point, egotistically or whatever, but the fact that Kawaki says he was going for a kill shot, but let's be so for real right now, Kawaki knew he was aiming for the eye anyway. At the very least, in the unlikely event it doesn't kill Jura, but also to save Boruto, since Jura was prepping the eye to shoot anyways. So, yeah, do we want to pause there? Okay, keep going. I'll keep going.
You
So-
did do the wrong topic for what you're. That's okay.
So, Kawaki has 2 hands, and practically infinite rods, and Jura has 2 eyes. So, wow, perfect math. Who could have thought it? So, can anyone tell me why Jura still has an eye instead of running around getting dominated like a headless chicken, considering he wouldn't be able to see since no other Shinju are around, nor by the cube for Jura to grab them through a shirt, nor can Jura sense Kawaki now seemingly, nor can Jura himself teleport since Kawaki could shrink Jura's claw marks fast enough. So why didn't Kawaki just do that and win? So my best possibility for this is Kawaki wanted to test his new powers against the strongest dude he could find. If he insta-nerfs and kills Jura off guard, it sort of takes away the point. And Kamui, I know what you're going to say, yes, Damon is stronger, but Kawaki's so weak that Damon still doesn't want to fight him. So it's not going to matter if Kawaki wants to fight him. So, but also, Kawaki has huge area of effect laser beam blasts. Considering Jura is sword level minus his fingernail, couldn't Kawaki just blast him from behind, off guard, disintegrating every atom in his body, like what he planned to do with Code, and what he did do to Garo's upper half, as well as Boro at one point, but that would just eviscerate all
option
of Jura at once, minus the finger well.
I have another option.
I'll also add
option.
so I do think that Kawaki would want to fight Jura regardless of Damon, because if he is a glass cannon, then if he tries to attack Damon, he's literally going to die from reflection.
You gotta be joking, right?
Which
Real
part?
quick though, I have another possibility.
Yes.
So remember Jigen's giant they're pinning down the 10 tails and pin down Kurama Avatar tails, those gigantic ones?
So I saw you type that, Kamui. That technically wouldn't work, because no matter where he puts it, it's only going to cut Jura in half, or just like take out a part of his body. It's not going to destroy all of them.
Well, 2 things. One, just have it spawn up and down instead of like the way it pins Kurama's tail, just spot it that way. It's long enough to get all of them. Or 2, just go for the head.
What makes you think Kawaki can actually kill Juro?
The fact
Well,
that...
like he said, if he just did stab both of his eyes, Jura just wouldn't be able to see.
So what would Jura do?
And Jura
I mean-
can't see a claw mark to go into. And there's none nearby anyway.
And if he tries to make a claw mark to go into, Kawaki would just shrink it.
I actually don't think they can kill Juro, because I actually believe as the Ten Tails incarnation, Juro might be kind of immortal. So we don't know yet how his regeneration works. Who knows? Maybe the next chapter they might show him regenerating his eye and the leg that Boruto cut off. Like, we don't know yet.
Then I would have 2 questions. One is, why didn't he just heal it sooner instead of just fighting nerfed? And 2, why did Koji foresee a future of Jura holding his eye that hasn't happened yet? Meaning he's still probably missing
But 3, that doesn't change the fact, why attack Jura's eye in the first place? If he's just gonna heal it, then why not attack both eyes if he's just gonna heal it?
Hey, look, Ikimura is the author. He does what he decides he wants to do. Like, he wanted Kawaki to just pierce Juro's eye. actually think that was cool. It looked cool. So
Don't you think it would be twice as cool if he did both eyes?
I mean, he barely survived doing one, so I think doing two was like it's gonna be like
What
too
do you
much.
mean he barely
So
survived?
Well, hold up real quick, Dan. That's proving Oodie's point. That's saying that he could have killed Jura, if that would be too much.
I mean, one didn't kill Juror. That's enough to tell me that okay, that's not gonna kill him. Like one, like because when he did,
The point isn't that stabbing both eyes will kill Jura. It's that Jura can't see. Kawaki can shrink any claw marks he uses to go away. And all Boruto has to do is chop off the head of a blind Jura.
will that kill him?
I don't think so. Like you were saying, go for the head earlier, Kamui. The fact that Kawaki just stabbed him straight through the head and it didn't do anything at all, I don't think you can kill Jura by killing his head.
Okay, how about this? Boruto just does the 50 pieces Chopperunski that he did in Monster.
Okay, that would kill him. Or at the very least, it would make his soul thorn come out or whatever else. I don't know. At the very least, Kawaki could just blast the bits at that point, so.
Exactly, just like do that.
But the same thing that he did against Hidari to just atomize every single bit of his body, of his upper half, he could just do that to Jura's entire body.
Exactly, and he's stronger now, so it's, that's gonna scale up.
Well, that's in the unlikely event that his limiters are off.
All right, now you can get into that.
Well, what topic were you thinking of that I wrote
You have
down?
one where you said that he can prove it.
Oh,
said, "Hold on, I
okay. So Kamui, I'll be honest, I wrote this first part related but unrelated to the rest of it because I wanted to start with my conclusion so that the premise that you're going to inevitably agree with, you're not actually going to agree with it because you just want to be difficult because I say the first thing that I can prove Kawaki didn't get his limiters off. So that being said, my proof is this. Koji says Boruto must have said something because Koji never foresaw any future where Kawaki helps. So that means, nonsensically so, Boruto is acting as a singularity of fate by telling Kawaki to team up with him. Not about the limiters. Otherwise, Koji would have seen the possibility of Boruto teaming up with Kawaki. This is obviously nonsense either way, because this means Boruto just doesn't ask Kawaki to team up with him, if not for Koji. What?
Then my follow-up. So this isn't necessarily debunking you, it's just adding to the makes no sense aspect.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, then why wasn't Koji surprised to find out that Boruto and Kawaki teamed up when Ada said it in chapter 16 and Koji heard it? He'd already know that Boruto acted as a singularity of fate behind his back if he didn't intend on Boruto and Kawaki teaming up in the first place.
Yeah. So
you see, that's the thing. I do believe he wanted Boruto and Kawaki to team up. Maybe when they've actually gained, actually destroyed all the other Shinjus, because I believe Koji wanted Juro to be the last Shinju that they fought. I think his original plan was for them to destroy the Shinju one by one before they move on to Juro, because in the sequence of events that he saw, Boruto was not ready to defeat Juro. Well, so I actually believe he told Boruto about Kawaki's situation for him to maybe tell him at a different time or a time of his own choosing, but Boruto went ahead and did it before Koji was ready for him to do it.
So do you think as of 6 days ago during the last update, so anytime before 6 days ago, do you think, irregardless of Boruto being a singularity of fate, that he would have naturally asked Kawaki to team up with him, irregardless of Koji?
Absolutely.
I agree.
Maybe, who knows? If maybe, if Kawaki is weak, he might not want to team up with Kawaki, because he knows that Kawaki has potential power that is being kept away from him, which is why he's weak. So he probably told Kawaki the truth so that he could do something about it, and then together they can fight Juro.
I don't think Boruto cared. I think he just would want to team up with Kawaki regardless.
I agree with Kamui on that.
I mean,
So, do you think that Koji told him about the limiters, or did Boruto figure it out on his own?
Math with his own future sight, who knows? I don't know. But
well, I think Koji had to have told Boruto because again, the
yeah,
way Boruto
yeah, me too.
phrases it is that you in the future are going to come to this decision. So if you're going to do it anyway, you might as well have you do it sooner rather than later. So he was clearly told about the future decision, which is why he's mentioning it.
Well, no, because literally anyone else who knows about the limiters could say that to Kawaki, and that doesn't mean they're a singularity of fate. Like, you're only saying that because of the context of Koji exists.
Well, but Kawaki wouldn't necessarily... I mean, he could just do it anyway, I suppose, but, like, the point is, like, so I agree with what you're saying, but, again, let's just be realistic. Koji exists, and then they're phrasing it this way. That implies that that's what they're going for.
I mean, you say that, but the rest of the conversation apparently was under Koji's nose anyways, so...
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Well, because let me put it this way. Why would Koji want Kawaki to get his limiters off early, but not to come help against Juro?
That's my point.
Well, because it doesn't make sense, I'm going to say it's
Yeah.
not likely to be the outcome.
Well, why?
Because it doesn't make sense.
So then why did he tell Boruto these things?
Like I said, intel. He gave Boruto intel information. I think Koji always planned on Kawaki getting his limiter off, but at a specific time. Boruto just sped it up. He spread
Why would
the
he
time
give
spread
Boruto
up.
the ability? But why would he give Boruto the ability to do it if he didn't want it?
It could be the sand
Could he
mission thing all
selective
over
about-
again. It
no,
could be
he's
trust.
selective. He's very selective about what he tells Boruto.
It could be trust.
He clearly doesn't trust Boruto without all the information.
Well, he's not giving him all the information. Just enough so Boruto trusts him.
But Boruto wouldn't even know about
What
the
makes you
limiters in the
think
first place. I feel like that's not the thing of all things, getting his trust.
I completely disagree based on that Boruto Kawaki fight, and Boruto's like, oh, it's like you didn't even do anything these past few years. You're even more pathetic than ever, Kawaki.
Well, here's the thing. Depending on the timeline, it's possible that Boruto just didn't know back then about the limiter, so he just genuinely thought Kawaki was just not training, and then later found out about the limiters.
Well, I
And
do
then,
think at the very least, because
That's
it's
before the update.
it's clear in their very first conversation ever that Boruto wants to hear about Kawaki from Koji. It's likely, or at least possible, that after fighting Kawaki at some point, he could have talked to Koji, and then Koji could have told him about the limiters because maybe Boruto asked, or maybe he just asked beforehand in the first place.
Maybe it's the fact that Boruto thinks that Kawaki could still be strong even with his limiter off, because by training, he could have still gone as strong as Boruto did. But because Kawaki is a bum, he didn't train, and he didn't want to be a ninja, he didn't train.
I don't think
so
that
that's
is
why he was
true,
weak.
though. Like, he developed his eye an extra 3 spokes beyond his max in part 1. He clearly did something.
Nah, he didn't do anything. That just Otsutsuki power that was given to him.
Codes,
Nah.
I mean, I know that Codes are not the most reliable narrator, but the only statement we have is Code stating that Kawaki is 100% Otsutsuki, and this is in part 1.
I don't trust Code. I still don't think Kawaki is 100% Otsutsuki. I still think he's like on 80 or 87.
Then why has the series given us nothing to suggest Code's wrong? Why wouldn't the series clarify?
It might not be that Code's wrong, but that you're just taking the information wrong. So maybe when Code means he's 100% Otsutsuki, 100% Otsutsuki effectively in the sense to where he's enough percent Otsutsuki to where any more percent isn't going to change the level of fruit if he feeds it to the divine tree. That's to say, if you feed
That's
any...
not even true.
Well, that's to
We know
say...
this
Actually, I
because-
agree with Hood. I agree with Hood on that.
Yeah, you can't just say it's not true when you don't know.
Momoshiki makes it clear that that's not true, because when he sees 80% Kawaki, he specifies Yeah, it might be on the small side, but it'll be decent enough.
No, I know, Kamui, you're not listening. You're not listening. What I'm saying is that obviously there's a difference between like 0 to 80% Otsutsuki, but maybe it like wanes off towards the end to where it's going to be like this, to where it's like this. So like if this is 100% Otsutsuki and this is 80% Otsutsuki or whatever, then anywhere from 80 to 100%, it's going to produce the same level of chakra fruit. Anything under,
Basically,
obviously, it's going to be less and less.
It isn't going to do that based on Momoshiki. You could say it's negligible difference or whatever you think, but Momoshiki's making it clear that there's a noticeable difference. Like, it's still going to be pretty good, but it's going to be less than 100%. And also, itself specifically decides to wait and let Boruto get to 100% instead of just taking it at 80%, which he might as well do if it's the same size fruit. Why wait on Boruto? Why not just go do it while he's like not ready to be 100%?
I feel like Kamui just doesn't understand my point.
Your point doesn't. What you said isn't true.
Yeah, my thing includes the Momoshiki statement.
Yeah.
You just don't understand that.
Basically, he's saying
there's
that
a difference between the 80 and 100% in terms of the size of the fruit.
But it's still gonna get the job done. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, it'll be a fruit, but it's a worse fruit.
Well, Dan, that's not what I was saying
but he's
anyways.
still gonna get the job done. He's still gonna update himself.
Oodie, what are you trying to say?
Yes, I know that there's a difference between 80 and 100%, but let's just say in the code arc that what percent do we want to say? Kawaki's at 85, 90%?
He's either 80 or 100, according to, like, it's either, what either had to have happened, because he's either just at 80% because everything's stagnated, or similar to Boruto with Momoshiki's karma rewrite nonsense, the moment Kawaki got his karma back, it just, quote-unquote, fully extracted and became 100%. It's one or the other.
Okay, so I'm just going to say he's 90% in the code arc for whatever reason that we want to think of it. So, 80%...
That's the one thing I don't think it is, but okay.
Okay, so let's just say that 80% produces like a 90% chakra fruit, and then 90% produces 100% chakra fruit. A 100% Otsutsuki would also produce the same 100% chakra fruit.
But yeah, that's not going to be the case.
That doesn't go against what Momoshiki said.
But that doesn't make sense.
Why?
Obviously, the 100%'s the 100%, and it's just going to be less when it's 90.
But you're just thinking of it linearly, like you just say
no,
anything that's not
linear.
It
can be an exponential graph. On your graph, 100% is still higher than your 90%.
No, but you're thinking about it asymptotically like this, whereas I'm saying there would just be a blatant cutoff limit to where it would be 100% regardless.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case, Oodie, realistically speaking.
I mean, you don't have to.
That's not what this series is implying.
Well, the series isn't implying either way, but that's okay.
Yes, it is, Oodie. It's implied that the full Otsutsuki makes a bigger chakra fruit than a not full Otsutsuki.
So do you think a 99.9999999% Otsutsuki would produce a smaller chakra fruit?
Negligibly smaller, but smaller.
Okay.
Look, I think it all depends on the quality of the Otsutsuki. Like for Jigen, for example, Jigen was a 100% Otsutsuki, but he was still gonna produce a weak chakra fruit, according to
Ishiki. Well, don't necessarily say it's gonna be a weak one, but I agree that the quality does matter in addition to the Otsutsuki. Well, I think to be fair, the percentage Otsutsuki is somewhat related to the quality at the end of the day. It's the quality of the sacrifice.
Well, but maybe that's a factor as well. If Jigen's 100%, but he's an imperfect vessel, that could factor in, whereas Kawaki's 80%, but he's a perfect vessel.
Yeah. No, I agree. Kawaki at 80% might be equally as good as a Jigen at 100%, but Jigen is a less good sacrifice than 100% Kawaki sacrifice. The point is, it's only going to raise up.
Kamui, what I'm saying
I don't care
is...
if it's exponentially decreasing or whatever. I don't care. All I'm saying is that it's going up.
Look, in the end, it's all going to produce a chakra fruit, which is what they want. So it doesn't matter.
Well, that's not true either.
I disagree with that. That's
I disagree too. So, Kamui, what I'm saying is, imagine the Otsutsuki like a fertilizer, and the chakra fruit's just a strawberry or whatever. the strawberry can only get so good. It can only be so perfect. It doesn't matter to a certain extent how much fertilizer you add. At a certain point, it's just going to cap off. It can't be better.
Yeah, that's 100%. 100% with a good vessel.
Okay, so sticking with
But
what I was
then,
saying.
Even then, though, I don't know if that is true, because I think they kind of just imply that, like, the better the vessel, the better the fruit, the tree, and better the fruit. Like, it's kind of just... Obviously, once you get to the point to where the vessel, the sacrifice, allows the tree to be big enough to devour the whole planet, which is what Jigen's talking about, Domino. Once you get there, the limiting factor is going to be the size of the planet. At that point, you can have a Shibai sacrifice versus a Kawaki sacrifice. It's not going to matter to the fruit because the fruit's based off what the tree absorbs from the planet. So it only matters up until the tree is able to absorb the whole planet. Once you get there, that's where it caps. The planet is the limiting factor.
So, Kamui, do you...
Jigen says that Boruto and Kawaki, as like 100% of Suzuki, they'll produce a tree big enough to absorb the entire planet. And he's really happy about that, implying a less than that might not get to the whole planet.
So, Kamui, do you think there can be a perfect chakra fruit to where it can't get better than that level? Or do you think it just scales infinitely?
Probably scales infinitely to an infinitely larger planet. Probably. Hypothetically, a Shibai sacrifice on Shibai's infinite dimension world. Yeah, okay, that's the best chakra fruit.
Why do you think the fruits of the chakra fruit would work differently from fruits in real life?
Because I'm going off of what well, I don't think that they fundamentally work crazily different, but I'm just telling you based on what Jigen and Alvaro and stuff say.
So let's ignore percentages, even though I know that's what we want to use. Let's just say, like, 100 units of chakra is 100% in terms of Otsutsuki chakra. 80 units for where Kawaki currently is. So let's just say, like, a perfect chakra fruit just takes, like, 90 units of chakra. Anything beyond, and it just doesn't change.
There's such thing as a perfect chakra fruit. It's just whether it gets the whole planet or not.
So what I'm saying is how good the fruit can be based on the planet.
That depends on the size of the planet.
Okay, well, let's use Earth, and let's say it doesn't require 100% Otsutsuki.
Okay, that could in theory be possible. I agree that could theoretically be the case, but Mobushiki and Jigen seem to think that's not the case.
At 80%, we don't know anywhere between 81 to 100.
I agree, but even Jigen at 100%, unless you want to say Ishiki just would prefer not to sacrifice Jigen for other reasons, he seems to imply that the Kawaki sacrifice or the Boruto sacrifice is better than a Jigen sacrifice. That's why he's can't bother doing it. It's just better.
I agree.
Which tells me that
you really need 100% good vessel, most likely.
Well, I think like we've already said, the percentage and being a perfect vessel is also two different things.
I agree, but I think you need, for Earth, about a 100.
Okay.
For Earth size.
Well, I was a long cut out, but that's okay. About 100% for Earth size. Okay.
Give it.
Well, I heard the parts that mattered. So I'm not even saying this is likely or what I believe, Kamui, despite what you would think, apparently, with how much you're opposed to this idea. It's me taking this unlikely idea and trying to justify to say, if this is the case, here's how I would explain it. And
what is this referring to right now?
Huh?
What is the thing you're referring to for that?
The 100 versus 80% thing, and whether that would...
Okay, sure. That's fine. I just don't think it is.
I know. I don't necessarily think it is either. But you definitely weren't helping me trying to make it the case if it is the case. But that's okay.
Well, sure. But you are doing back as if you believed it passionately too. So you can't really follow anything at that point.
Well, if this is the case, and I'm trying to say if it's the case, then this is how I would explain it, then obviously
That's
I'm
not how
going to
you
believe it's the case.
started, though. That's not how you started. You started as this is what you thought was the case.
I disagree, but you can have your interpretation.
Anyway, so back to Kawaki limiters. Or are we done with that?
So, Dan, do you think
Yeah.
Kawaki got his limiters off?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Because I want us to be done with that bullshit plotline.
Okay, so you want Kawaki to have his limiters off. Do you think, is there anything in series you can point to say Kawaki did get his limiters off?
If he doesn't have his limiters off, what the hell is he doing there? What can he do? The last time he faced Jiro, he got his ass handed to him.
Last time he didn't get the chance to fight Jura. Jura basically caught him off guard.
No, no Jiro fought him and whooped his ass.
Yeah, Jura
just with
fought
one
him
punch.
before he got the chance to power up. Just like
What?
Boruto fodderized Matsuri, basically, in the same kind of
Well,
way.
to be fair though, Oodie, what do you think about the fact that Kawaki in base was just doing better this time around than he was the first time, regardless of karma?
Well, he did catch Jura off guard.
I'm not referring to the first one, but when he continues to attack.
When Jura doesn't have an eye?
I guess, so you think the eye makes that much of a difference for Jura?
I mean, if he can't sense Kawaki and he can only see him, he just lost half of his vision.
Wait. Kawaki did use karma against Jiro the first time. He activated the
Oodie's
first
going to
stage.
argue against you, even though yes, I agree, he did. But
It's at the very end to the point that it doesn't actually make any difference in the fight.
The whole
Oh,
point,
that's
because
different.
we-
Okay, that's a different argument from before. That's more reasonable than what you always say to me.
But Dan, what do you think he did with his karma active there?
The first time?
Yeah.
I think he used it to add more power in Sukuna Ikona to escape Jiro's Wood Star. Which didn't do much, by the way, because Jiro easily punched the crap out of him.
You think so? Do you not think that Kawaki can shrink himself in base?
I think he can, but the speed at which he's shrinking also requires power.
When has the speed not been instant?
Yeah,
I
I agree
mean-
with that. I think this shrinking speed just is instant every time.
You actually think so?
I don't think it's literally instant, but I think it's so fast that it's incomprehensible to the high tiers of the universe still.
See, I actually think power plays a part in how fast they actually shrink, because I don't really think it's instantaneous. Maybe against Jigen, when Jigen was fighting against Sasuke and them, because Jigen was powerful enough to do that. But I don't think in Kawaki's case it is.
I don't
because
think he
Boruto
can.
was able to
I don't think he can
dodge all this
use more chakra to make himself shrink faster. I think it would just depend on when he starts the shrinking.
Yeah, he would just have better reaction to shrink sooner, kind of thing.
It's
And in the
similar-
case of people catching or dodging Kawaki's rods, that's them dodging the tiny rods that Kawaki's throwing or things of that nature, versus it's up the speed of the enlarging or the shrinking that's changing.
Yeah, similarly
It's how he's throwing them.
with ninjutsu,
Spawning them.
I'd argue it's the opposite, if anything, to where the more chakra you pump into a thing, it's not going to make the jutsu come out quicker. It's going to come out slower because it's a bigger jutsu. The only thing that would make a jutsu come out quicker is if you master hand signs where you can weave your hand signs faster to mold your chakra to perform the jutsu. You can't pump in more chakra to make a jutsu come out faster.
doesn't require molding chakra though.
Huh?
Shinjutsu does require chakra and
I
molding.
mean, it requires chakra,
Just
but
don't
not
use hand
molding
signs.
chakra.
Wait, no,
Yeah,
you mold
no,
the
hand
chakra,
signs
you
and
just don't
molding
use hand signs.
Well, what makes you say you mold the chakra?
Because Otherwise, how do you specify which Shinjutsu you're using? Between Daikoku 10 and Sukuna Hikona, what would be the difference if the chakra isn't molded towards one particular jutsu?
It's a divine art for a reason. I think it depends.
Well, the divine
on
art
the
isn't
intent
this
of the user.
aspect of it.
It
He has to
could be
specify.
like,
How does he specify which divine art he's using if his chakra
because
isn't
it-
partitioned in
it's
a way
about
to do so?
it's about the intention of the user.
I agree.
So
I
how?
think
But the intention. Yeah. You intend to do this jutsu, so you mold it into that jutsu.
I think molding chakra is part of ninjutsu, not senjutsu.
I agree.
Why?
Because I think it's not molding it into a specific jutsu. I think it's usually more or less for a nature elemental, but not necessarily always the case to be that. Like, for example, there's plenty of jutsu that don't require hand signs because it doesn't require molded chakra, seemingly in Naruto. All of
Well,
genjutsu,
no. I don't think.
as an
I don't
example.
think like if you don't use hand signs, it doesn't mold. Depends on what your definition of mold chakra is. But when I'm saying molded chakra as is making the chakra into that particular jutsu. So like the Rasengan would require molded chakra. The chakra's molded, but like in terms of the rotation and compression and all that, that's part of molding the Rasengan, essentially.
I don't think that's molded chakra. I think that's just spinning raw chakra.
Yeah, so Rasengan is probably the worst example because of that. But I don't think Sukuna Hikona is spinning raw chakra, obviously.
Yeah,
So like,
but like, let's just use like a Mangekyo user. Let's use Obito, his Kamui versus intangibility. How does he choose which one to use?
well, both are Kamui, but I get
You
what
get
you're
the
trying to
Like
say.
I said, it's all about intentions. Like is what like the user's intention, that desire.
Yeah, but
which
again,
ability
yeah,
they want.
you can have all the intent in the world, but you have to do something. Like something's fundamentally
Along-
happening in your chakra network to do this.
Along with tapping into the chakra itself, the chakra plus the intention. Basically, I think mental energy plays a part in it.
Yeah, physical and mental energy, that's chakra. But
I mean,
the point is,
personally,
you have to like turn it into that jutsu.
so regardless of molding chakra, Kamui, would you agree with me that Kamui in general just doesn't make sense? Because there's two different abilities, and I don't mean long range versus short range Kamui. You have
I know,
intangibility and you have Kamui, and you have two different eyes, and they're supposed to be individual eyes for different powers. You have Amaterasu and Flame Control, but no, you have Obito, which has intangibility and short range Kamui. And then you have Kakashi with long range
I
Kamui.
agree. He should
Wait,
like
you don't know
he
that
shouldn't
Kamui
have
is like a
both.
single power.
That's a rewrite right there.
No, I agree. He should have one or the other, and obviously the cooler one's intangibility. So he's just not going to be going to the Kamui dimension. That would be Kakashi.
Exactly.
So
I
Kakashi
agree.
in this case could just use his Kamui short or long range, because obviously you can do it long range, you can do it short range.
For the
So-
most part, I think it usually doesn't change anything. Like, let's just say whenever Obito touches someone, he can make them intangible too. That could be how he saves Sasuke from Onoki in the 5 Kage Summit. For Fu and Torine, he could just like Orochimaru Thanos snap them. He doesn't need to send them to Kamui Dimension.
Exactly.
In the
question
war,
is, what is he doing in the Minato fight? Like, what's the goal with that one?
just kill him, I guess. Just wrap him in the chains. and
Yeah,
then
but then,
slash his
why
throat.
does he need to have the perfect timing touch thing? I guess he's just gonna have a knife in that hand instead of touching
Yeah.
him. He's gonna try to stab him.
If anything, I think that makes more sense than his raw hand compared to Minato's Rasengan. It's like it should be
Yeah, I
different effects.
agree. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I agree with you there. Like, just he has the same restrictions. He can't touch someone unless his intangibility is off. So he has to time it, the same way. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't really change much.
I would also add that whenever Kakashi tries to Kamui him at the end of the 5 Kage Summit, he could just be intangible, which is why that Kamui wouldn't work.
Yeah. So the question is, so this scene is just weird in general, but remember when Kakashi was Kamuing the ghetto statue and Obito just like undid it?
I know, yeah. Maybe he could just like jump up and be intangible and he just gets in the way or something. I don't know.
Yeah, or anything else, or maybe Kakashi, it's just too much chakra for Kakashi or something.
Yeah, maybe Zetsu
maybe
could
because
stop
Obito
him.
understands Kamui more than Kakashi.
Or maybe that could be when Obito erects that barrier to where it just doesn't work because the barrier's in the way.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But honestly, I'm so down for this. As much as I love Kamui and I want to have as much Kamui as possible.
Yeah.
I agree.
But like
They should
besides
just have two different abilities.
besides the war arc, it doesn't really matter
not
when
different.
Obito's literally physically in Kamui. Because Kakashi's there to Kamui them both in the first place into the Kamui dimension. And even like fighting Konan, it doesn't matter if he goes into Kamui because he's just using intangibility, and then he uses his eye to get out of that sticky situation, to where he could just use his eye in other instances, since he has a billion Uchiha eyes in his hideout anyways.
Yeah, and he doesn't really
Decent argument.
need again, he doesn't need to go to the Kamui dimension for most of these situations anyway.
Yeah.
Like you just do the intangibility method.
So hey,
And
that
then
was a rewrite.
the other way,
know
another thing
doing
you
the
could do.
intangibility is him going to another dimension, right?
Huh?
Him doing the intangibility is him going to another dimension.
Technically, yes. So here's what I was gonna say. There is one way you can have Obito be able to go to Kamui without having like his swirly portal method, which is essentially whenever he is so as we know, whatever body part's being touched goes to Kamui. So if he's just gonna go through the wall with his hand, only his hand goes to Kamui. So what are the scenarios? So if Obito's whole body goes inside a wall,
Yeah,
all of him can go to Kamui that way.
we
Or
do
if it
see
goes
that
underground.
when
Exactly. Or
Naruto does his
when
fake
Shino's
Rasengan.
bugs. Remember when
Yeah.
Shino surrounds Obito with his bugs? I actually
Yeah.
said this is kind of a plot hole in terms of how it plays out in the story, but ignoring that, when Shino's bugs trap Obito, that could be an example of how he goes all the way to Kamui.
I
Now,
agree.
the only problem with this is Konan's sea of paper bombs. So all the explosion obviously covers Obito's whole body. So he would just go to Kamui the moment the first two go off. So,
Wait, like actually, Obito's intangibility actually only works for like around 5 minutes. So like
yeah, that
he
doesn't
can only
change the
like
Konan thing.
Yeah, that's what
But-
Conan used against him in that fight.
Well, first of all, the
That's not my
600
point.
billion paper bombs aren't going off all at the same time. We see them go off like one after the other whenever Obito tries to teleport away, which is why he can't do it, because the paper bombs are always constantly wrapping around him and going onto him.
There's I know that. There's the easiest rerun in the world, which I'm just gonna present afterwards. But if you look at the scene, there's clearly enough bombs going off at one time to cover Obito's whole body. So what's the solution? Konan would just specifically time all of them one at a time so that they don't cover his whole body, but they're enough to where they're constantly going off. Like you just have smaller explosions, basically, would be the point. So that he can't go to Kamui via the whole body method, essentially. What you would do. Simple rewrite, you just make it the point.
Okay.
The plan.
Go
And
work.
I agree then.
All right.
This is just objectively think a better rewrite.
Even like chasing after Danzo in the 5 Kage Summit, he could just like be carrying the unconscious Sasuke with him, and then just Sasuke wakes up when they get to the bridge with Danzo. Don't even need
Yeah.
Karin to heal him, technically. But you could still have
you
that.
can you can also just like if Obito is technically sharing intangibility with people, he can just bring Sasuke into a wall.
Yeah, true. Then he just like rises up on the bridge with Sasuke. That could work.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool too. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
They just Obito cool. The only time this kind of sucks is this scene doesn't make any sense anyway. It's when Obito's that's later as he does the weird hand circle thing as he goes away when he first reveals himself to Kakashi.
Well, no, that
during
can
the
still
time.
technically work. It would just be goofy to where he's just starting his 5-minute Kamui activation to where he's just hoping they go away in 5 minutes. Or it doesn't even need to be intangibility Kamui or whatever. He could just be doing literally any other weird go away jutsu that everyone else always does. Orochimaru did against Akko. Orochimaru and Sasuke burn away at the end of the Tenchi Bridge arc.
That's funny. Yeah, he can just have this is his body flicker technique. He just
Exactly.
does the hand circle thing. That just hits for everything. That's
There
pretty
you
cool
go.
anyway. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm so down for this. I'm so down because it just makes Kami make more sense.
I agree.
That's it.
Okay. If anything, honestly, it doesn't just make Kamui make more sense. It makes the Minato versus Obito fight literally just make more sense on its own. And that's just one of the examples that we went over.
Exactly. And like, remember the scene when Obito, he grabs Minato's hand and he starts sucking him up and Minato teleports away?
Mhm.
Simplest fix in the world. He grabs his hand and with his other hand, he takes the kunai as he's going for the throat and Minato just teleports away to dodge.
That's cool.
It doesn't do anything. Like, and then Minato's just going to do the same thing and be like, his space-time jutsu surpasses mine because he can go through things and also disappear. Because Minato, you can just have Obito do, like, instead of doing the swirly things he shows up, he's just going to come out of the ground, kind of like Zetsu. Like, he just does that as his... I'm not going to lie, when Obito jumps in and out of the ground versus Fu and Tornade, it's pretty cool, so you can just do that. That's just like his thing. When he does the whack-a-mole jutsu thing, that's literally what he's doing anyway. So... you can just literally just make Toby's goofy whack-a-mole jutsu can unironically just become a more serious method of fighting for Obito when he's serious. He's not gonna do the whack, but like he'll do the in and out thing. It'd be pretty cool.
I think it'd be cool if he does whack-a-mole jutsu, but he's doing it seriously. So like when he has this like mask off or whatever, instead of whack-a-mole, he's gonna like come up right at your feet and he's just gonna fireball fire style jutsu you right in the face.
Or like he comes out of the ground and like slits your ankle.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Levi does to the Beast Titan. Like you do stuff like that. He's just doing these deadly. What are you gonna do about that, bro? Like it's so hard to deal with.
He kind of reminds me of the Orochimaru Mitsuki type.
Instead of trying to touch you, he's gonna be doing some actual ninja shit.
Yeah.
Literally gonna be the most ninja in the series. I'm so down. This is so much cooler.
Yeah. The Obito versus Minato fight, I think, is also like technically cooler on a physical level as well, because as it is in canon, they both have space-time ninjutsu, but Minato just has it for protection, whereas Obito has it for both offense and defense. I think it's cooler if they just both have it as defense, and then they just have to fight using their own actual physical tactics.
And they're using
that's ninja versus ninja.
Using their defense in a way to try and make it offense, but they aren't literally offense themselves.
Exactly, yeah. So I just like that better because now it feels like space-time user versus space-time user, whereas currently it doesn't really kind of feel like that for that same reason. Because it doesn't feel like they're being ninja in a way. Obito's just trying to touch them.
Exactly. I'm not gonna lie, I'm so down. It's so big.
But I wonder
and
what...
you can still do all the chain stuff. It's not like the... not like the chains become useless.
If anything, they have more of a reason to exist.
Exactly.
So...
because he would still have to touch you after the fact when you're chained up, so in this case, he's just going to kill you.
But I wonder what Devin thinks of that.
Oh, man. Okay, so your conversation had a lot of momentum. I didn't want to just jump in or anything, but...
Well, thank you.
No, I really... I think you guys
are probably going to be really happy. Ask himself.
And I'm trying to think of some other jutsu that we can, like, kind of work around and make it so they can kind of utilize them way more effectively. You know what I mean? Because I feel like there's like hella jutsu in the series where it's like, what are you doing, bro? You could be like the top ninja. What are you thinking? Like, for instance, maybe this is hella obvious. This is obvious, but Shino should be like the top dude in the village, man. Like, come on now. I feel like that whole clan should run shit. Like, I feel like there probably already is. There should be a big bug barrier around the village. It should be like everyone should have a little parasite in their body, like off rip, as soon as they get in the village.
Yeah, they have like lice in their hair to protect them.
Yeah.
That reminds me of when Zetsu just puts like the white Zetsu on the 5 Kage. Just like it's just white Zetsu all over Sasuke, the spores or whatever.
Yeah.
That would have been so OP.
Well, also in a cool, imagine if White Zetsu does the spore thing on Shino and he counters it by having his bugs eat the White Zetsu.
They literally
cool scene.
I feel like they didn't want to give Shino the shine he deserved in a lot of moments because I feel like his bugs
because he wasn't a character
in a lot of different situations, you know.
I mean, just thinking about it, Chidori's stream could have technically been used in the Boro fight to get rid of the virus in the same way that Sasuke got rid of the clay in his body. I don't know how viruses work. Maybe that like wouldn't work because the virus already offloaded its DNA or whatever. But I feel like it would just still like burn whatever DNA instead of the virus shell.
Then it would work.
Yeah, and I don't want to like take a moment away from Mitsuki, but I never really liked the explanation that, oh yeah, Mitsuki just gets all the blood from all of his enemies just in case, and oh, in the Boro fights, when we find this out, and because, oh, it's just so convenient that it worked here.
Yeah. It never comes up again.
It's like he didn't even know Boro had virus. He was just doing it just in case. He apparently does against everyone. It's like, what?
If I had that ability, I'd do it against everyone just in case. You know what I mean?
I guess.
Never be too sure.
Sure. Okay. So, now that we've
what are some other things you guys were talking about tonight? Like I kind of hopped in midway through the Oodie
We finished 10 directions. If we want to go back to that,
I was yeah. That's actually. I'm just glad we're on the same page. I was literally doing that right now. I have to re-find where we were now, but hopefully that's not too hard. Let's see here. I have no idea what we have and haven't covered at this point. Oh god.
Well, you went over like, alright, so does Koji see like fragments or the whole thing? Does he choose to do the update, or does it happen automatically? I'm trying to think of what else.
Yeah, but I don't know
When I first walked in, you guys were talking about the chakra fruits and what vessel would allow it
I think
to go.
Let's not go back to that one.
I was feeling real fruit. I was worried.
Let's not do that.
Did you have your opinion on that? To the point to where we don't have to comment
Honestly,
on it?
I'm not gonna lie. With I don't know. Past TBV, I'm not really caught up on Boruto, so I can't really speak intelligently on that kind of stuff.
Okay. I've mostly found where to be now. I might have even skipped things even earlier, but okay. So guys, when 10 Direction updates, does Koji see just the update or all possible futures? What do we think? When 10 Directions updates, as opposed to Koji just using 10 Directions, so specifically when it updates, does Koji see only the updates, so only the new information, or is he seeing the new information lumped together with all of the information?
I think it's the latter, because the new information just will lead to differences later on, like in an endless loop, like continuation, to where it's just gonna update all possible futures. I don't think there's like any reason why it wouldn't.
Devin, what do you think?
Unless the update just didn't matter in the long run. But even then, I think he just sees how it plays into the long run.
I think it would have to be the latter, right? The all possible futures. I feel like the first option it wouldn't be the, what's the word? It wouldn't be the most beneficial for him, right?
Well, technically, it would be the most efficient, which would be the most beneficial.
It would be the worst, though.
Well, not if he knows how the new information plays into everything. I mean, it makes sense. He's getting an update. He's seeing the update. The new information.
But either way, he could. Okay, in this hypothetical, though, do you agree that he could probably afterwards go look at all possible futures with the updates in mind?
Absolutely.
So either way, he's got to be able to do it.
Yes.
And if you have all possible futures, your situation, because I would assume using time travel from, I guess, any kind of media, the second you're looking at any kind of future, the timeline could vary. So if he has his view, he's ready for any situation, as opposed to just seeing the update. Because I don't know if there's some bullshit in the update's wrong, or what if what he sees isn't exactly what he expects,
Yeah. Well, Ikimoto chose to show us 10 Directions being updated this time. So, obviously all the information was new to us. Do you think Koji saw anything that we saw that would be new to him? Or, sorry, old to him, I should say? Something he already knew?
It is definitely possible. The question is, what specifically would it be? Because So part of it depends on what you think the context. We don't just give our answers. So, like, for example, what do you think the context of the Inojin Shigenai one is, in your opinion?
Well, I'll give you an even greater example. I think it's probably likely that Koji knew that Sarada and Hidari are going to rematch in the future.
Yeah.
But is what he saw that rematch, or is this under a new context, a different quote-unquote rematch?
Yeah, which we obviously wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So, I bet it's something like that.
So keeping this in mind, so if Koji is just seeing the updates, then that means everything he, and us as the audience, saw is a direct result of the update, aka Kawaki's choice, aka Boruto acting as a singularity of fate. So it's not just Juro holding his eye. Obviously that doesn't happen if Kawaki doesn't stab it out, if Kawaki doesn't come to the Sand Village. But also, because Kawaki came to the Sand Village, Inojin's gonna go to the hideout, and Himawari's panicked, and Shikadai is wearing his jacket, and Mamushi makes a move because Kawaki went to the Sand Village, but also, was Bug just not going to do anything if Kawaki stayed in the Leaf? Was Sarada and Hidari just never going to rematch? Was Jura never going to make it back to the Tin Tails hideout dimension? But also him being there confirms he survives this encounter, by the way, just want to point that out. So, who wins this fight? Well, technically Jura. Boruto and Kawaki don't kill him, but either way. So, what does Kawaki being there have to do with any of this changing?
So obviously some of them we just can't answer. Like Sarada Hidari, God knows what it is. We know. So for Inojin Shikadai, I have a somewhat interesting answer. So obviously we don't know exactly what Koji's plan was, but seemingly he thought Matsuri would get defeated probably by Mitsuki after Konohamaru probably died, and I don't know what Boruto was gonna do, but he was gonna do something here, and Juro wasn't gonna show up because Boruto didn't show up too early and whatnot. Everything's gonna go fine and dandy. So I'm thinking maybe they just were gonna rescue Shinki and Moegi, but now because Boruto showed up, it won't. That's not because Kawaki showed up necessarily, but like the combination of Boruto and Kawaki. Now they won't rescue Moegi and Shinki, or one of them anyway. And so what's happening is Shikadai and Inojin and probably Chocho are fighting Matsuri in one of the hideouts, like somewhere. Who else are they gonna fight? If it's not Jura, then it's gonna be Matsuri. So maybe they're fighting Matsuri because they don't save Matsuri because of Boruto and Kawaki.
And maybe Shikadai is wearing his jacket in this fight because he realized Kawaki's new jacket looks really cool, so he's gonna keep it on instead of taking it off.
That is definitely possible. And now, Mamushi, I've only got a couple of possibilities for him. One is, like you mentioned earlier, maybe in the original version that Koji had planned, they were going to defeat Matsuri, so then, Juro's going to be like, hey, Mamushi, why don't you go now? And then they're going to defeat Mamushi, and then they're like, hey, Hidari, why don't you go now? Then they're going to defeat Hidari, and then it's like, Juro's finally going to go.
But
so Mamushi never
the problem with that is Mitsuki's wasting Sage Mode on Claw Grimes. They've devalued him. Araya's not even there anymore, so I guess Deathbed Konohamaru is gonna solo Mamushi. Maybe Mello was right. Is Boruto just ass?
So the other possibility, which is the more interesting one, again though, the problem is I don't think Koji should be able to foresee this, but maybe he can. So maybe because Kawaki's there now, and like you mentioned, Jura goes back to the hideout, so they don't kill Jura. Maybe when it comes to Mamushi, this is what we're all hoping. Okay, Oodie, you will love this. So, not because she's the singularity of fate, but just because she's watching Kawaki and Boruto still lose to Jura, she sends Damon there. Koji can see it because it's not singularity of fate, just because she's watching in the present. So then Damon shows up to make Jura leave, and because Damon does that, Mamushi comes to Ada. That's what we're seeing.
I'm down.
That is the best case scenario for us. I'm not saying that will happen. So for Mom or whoever's watching is going to say, oh, your prediction was wrong. No. I'm not saying this is my prediction. I'm saying that's what I want.
So...
No, that's a twist on the twist right there. I'm not going to lie.
So, I feel like from the audience's perspective, knowing that this is an update to 10 Directions, we don't need to see everything that Koji sees. So regardless if Koji sees just the new information or he sees everything, I feel like what the audience was shown in light of what we were shown, I feel like everything that was shown should be specifically filtered out the new information from the old information to where it's all the new stuff in it because the audience was shown that and we weren't like shown anything. Like it's not like Koji saw like a different timeline of like, oh, that future was snuffed out. Now I'm gonna have to plan according around that. He's not doing that. He's just seeing the new possibilities and looking shocked. So I feel like everything we saw should be new based on that, regardless of if Koji saw more than that or not.
Also, just artistic presentation. Like, he's showing us this during the update. It's probably the updated information.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But, again, that's important because that means everything we saw is a direct result and only possible because, again, all possible futures. So this was impossible, everything we saw, if Kawaki stays in the lead. Just keep that in mind.
Hidari will never put his hand in that position unless Kawaki shows up.
Oh, I didn't write it down. I did want to say...
quick,
Okay, well, real quick on Hidari, unless Devin, if you had something to say on that previous topic.
Oh, I just had a quick question about the 10 directions. So I'm reading right now. There's a theory that the top of their head, one of them is actually Gaara. You can actually see Gaara in one of the pictures. I was wondering if you guys think there's any credence to that or no. It says they show the hair of Shiki and Gaara, who are both sealed in different ways. So it's seeming like they may be returning back to the battle.
It's possible that it's Inojin again or Gaara because they have the most similar hair.
Okay. I have not.
Can you refresh
that.
me how Gaara got sealed away? I know Shiki did it.
He was fighting Matsuri. Yeah.
Okay, for sure.
But anyways, okay. So Kamui,
sorry, keep going, man. I don't want to derail it.
I'm sure you're gonna disagree just because you view me as an Itachi hater, even though you just are an Itachi gaslighter, and I view Itachi
That's
normally. But because that's true, so I wanted to say that in advance. So okay, because they've already done Itachi, I feel like they should go a different direction for Hidari than, oh, he's a bad guy, except, oh, actually, he's a good guy all along. And I feel like because he has his hand in that position, I saw this as a theory, instead of him, like, getting Tomoe in his Rinnegan or finding a Sharingan from somewhere else, I think it could be really cool to give him Itachi's original story to where he just is trying to take Sarada's Mangekyo.
Yeah.
That would be cool. I want to see the original evil Itachi for Hidari now. That would be cool. They already didn't do it for Itachi. They might as well use that concept here that went to waste.
I agree. I mean, they could also just do both. In that scene,
Honestly,
it could be him trying to take the eyes, and in the future, he can do the forehead poke. They can do both.
I could be okay with that.
That's not a lot.
Yeah. Itachi already had like a fine story.
To try to take the eyes at some point. Why not?
They didn't need to make Itachi a good guy. He was already perfect as he was. But either way,
Itachi was always gonna be a good guy.
the Itachi, well, regardless if he was a good or bad guy, he was a dumb guy, that's for sure.
We're not going to get into this argument.
It's a tragic character. That's what it is.
Dan, just don't entertain it. We're just not going to get into it.
It wouldn't even be entertaining it. I'm not trying to bait him into talking about it, Kamui. But whatever.
It feels like he will.
I know you begged me.
Okay. Kamui, I'm gonna go against what you just said because now you're saying it, and now we're talking about it, so okay. Because I did have something to say, just real quick.
You know, Oodie, I'm sorry, but just so you know, remember how our cutoff time is going to be 12:30 to 1? It's 1:15, so let's get a move on 10 directions.
Just real quick, I'm just gonna say this because it's something I didn't say last night.
Okay,
Or
nobody
the other night.
respond after.
Okay, nobody respond after. But not only could Itachi kill Kisame if Kisame tried to kill Sasuke or something in part 1, which he easily could do, but also, that's not gonna matter. First of all, Itachi's other teammates have died in the past, legitimately so. Itachi could just lie. It's not like Obito's always watching. He's like, oh yeah, Jiraiya and Guy showed up and just overwhelmed Kisame while I was trying to get the Nine-Tails and like, what's are we gonna do? No, you're lying, Itachi. I can tell. No, he's gonna be like, oh, sucks for Kisame. Oh well. And he's just gonna find someone else to replace him, just like he did with Juzo Biwa. And if he is telling the truth, and he's like, yeah, I just killed Kisame, what's Obito gonna do? He doesn't care. Neither does Pain. The leaders of the Akatsuki don't care. They let Kakuzu get around doing it for like 20 of his past tells. The only reason Hidan isn't dead is because Kakuzu literally can't kill him. He's tried to, apparently. So they just don't care if you kill your teammate. The reason Orochimaru left the Akatsuki isn't because he was kicked out or banned or anything. It's because he was probably afraid that Itachi was going to kill him because Orochimaru tried to kill Itachi. This is why he left.
So I completely agree with what you're saying. I'll just give one potential counter argument, which isn't about almost what you said, but it's about the implications. So let's just say he does fight Kisame all out. It's not going to be an easy fight. You said he can easily kill him. That's not actually true. It's going to be a tough fight. He's going to be using his Mangekyo. And because of that, it's possible that Itachi would just go blind sooner. And because of that, he would be less strong in his heavy Sasuke fight, or he would need to fight him sooner. And either Sasuke's just going to be less ready to fight him, or Itachi's going to just genuinely be like not strong enough to like deal with Orochimaru when he comes out, because he's already going to be blind before Orochimaru comes out, and then Orochimaru takes over Sasuke's body, and that's not good. So maybe Itachi was playing the long game.
Are you talking about Shippuden though? Because I was talking about part 1.
I am talking about part 1. Either way, he's still going to go blind faster if he's using his Mangekyo faster.
If he uses one more Mangekyo, I don't think that's really going to change Shippuden.
I don't think he's going to be able to just win in one Mangekyo use on Kisame. Kisame's going to fight stronger than that.
Well, if Kisame gets caught in Tsukiyomi, he can just do the picosecond insta-kill thing.
Yeah, and Kisame knows not to, like, look at Tsukiyomi.
Okay.
He knows to not be an idiot against Itachi.
Well,
that didn't stop Naruto.
More chakra than Itachi.
What'd you say?
I said Kisame's got more chakra than Itachi. More chakra and stamina. So he's gonna last longer than Itachi.
Well, we don't know if he has more chakra. I think it's fair to say that, but the whole thing with Kisame, the reason he's so dangerous is because he can siphon chakra from other people. If he doesn't, like, and the stronger the other person is, the stronger Kisame becomes. The reason Kisame was such a beast is because he stole chakra from the 8 Tails Jinchuriki, the most chakra-filled person, like, frickin' ever at that point. Like, if he's just fighting, like, a base character, he's just gonna be, like, base guy level.
But even without his
but if he would know that, wouldn't he end the fight quick?
Just have tail beast levels of chakra naturally. Like, we see his 30% clone just sped out in ocean.
I mean,
which
that's
is
fair.
Beyond the Hokage level feat Tobirama did in part 1. So, yeah, he just has a lot of chakra.
But, like, I'm just saying, in comparison to where he's actually dangerous, if he's not fighting someone with chakra, he's just, like, in comparison to where he could potentially be, he's not that strong.
No, I agree.
His specialty is fighting high chakra people, but he's still going to be a tough battle.
Yeah,
Itachi knows
especially
that. There you go.
Again, I full-heartedly believe Itachi's winning. I'm just saying, he's not just gonna, like, Tsukiyomi GG immediately. Kisame just won't look at his eyes.
He could touch, could play GG.
But that's going to use a lot of Itachi's eyesight, because the Susanoo is very draining on that, as we saw with Sasuke.
I think he just needs the ribcage to do it. I could be wrong on that.
I don't think he's just going to ribcage GG Kisame immediately, though.
It's
Because
possible.
Kisame's not going to be a Orochimaru and just sit there and go, ha ha ha, go ahead and hit me.
He could Amaterasu him.
The question is, can Kisame block it with Samehana and the flames or something?
That
Oh,
could
that'd
be
be pretty
interesting.
cool.
either way, the second thing I wanted to say is, if you want to say that he's acting so that Kisame doesn't suss him out, fine. He's not whispering in Sasuke's ear when Kisame's on the other end of the hallway, so that Kisame, with his shark hearing, can hear him 30 feet away. It's like, oh wow, Itachi really means it. No, he's saying that for Sasuke.
No, we agree. Not every point was about Kisame anyway.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure
I'm just
that...
saying it's one of many, and it's realistically one of the lower end ones. But I mean, I feel like you just hung up on Kisame, but like regardless, it's not the main
Well,
one.
Kisame was what the point was about.
Well, it's the one we
Space
argued
Marine was
the most
a good
about,
point.
but it wasn't.
I was
like,
responding
the
to
whole
what Ace wrote, which was about Kisame.
thing.
Okay.
Space says part 1 Kasami is weaker than his Shippuden self, which is true.
We
I
don't
personally
actually
think
think that.
Itachi would catch him off guard.
Because it's possible that Kisame just never went as far all out. Because, like, realistically, would you think Kisame got, like, 10 times stronger?
What makes you think Kisame is weaker in the first part of Naruto?
Well, Kamui, but that's not fair then, because if you want to say that about Kisame, then why do you refuse that about Kawaki and Two Blue Vortex? He just hasn't gone all out. And if you think he got his limiters off before the time skip, then you just look at his code arc.
No, I never said Kawaki went all out. He never hit the horn, save of a conference. He blatantly didn't go all out. I agree with that. Assuming he can. Real quick for Kisame, I mean, I think most of us would agree. His 30% clones feats versus Guy more impressive than his water dragon jutsu against Kakashi in part 1. But like, unless we think
maybe
30% clone Kisame is massively stronger than his full self in part 1. That's a ridiculous increase for Kisame. That's unlikely. I don't think he was ever pushed to the point of going all out.
I think it's safe to say everyone got stronger, except for anyone with an obvious debuff, got stronger over the time skip, though. So I think the statement does have some basis, even if it wasn't like a huge amount that he got stronger.
According
to the data book,
got stronger, yeah.
According to the data book, Kakashi didn't get stronger from the end of
Really? I didn't know that.
Well, what are you talking about? Because that's the exact opposite of what I've seen, because he's training, and through his hard, strenuous training, he unlocks the Mangekyo.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Somebody sent me, I don't remember what it was, somebody has showed me the statement saying he was no different than his part 1 self, excluding the training he does, like from Land of Waves to like 2 exams. Like, he gets
I know it's anime, but I swear Naruto literally says Kakashi got stronger when he's first seeing him after the time skip. Now I might be making that shit up, but I swear I remember him saying.
I mean, I've translated this for Thunder Gods. So.
It might be a mistranslation that someone sent me. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I remember somebody like showing me it, so.
Yeah, but either way, do we want to do more 10 directions, or I feel like since we have everyone here, we might as well.
Considering that was the point, if you haven't finished it, let's finish it and then get a new offer diving.
Okay. So, okay, I'm sharing my screen. So, just reading this really quick. New omniscience visions for the first time in about 6 days. So, new. So, does new visions confirm what I said above, to where it's everything in the update was everything we saw? Like that it's new?
I agree, yeah.
Okay. I think that might also confirm that everything that Koji saw was new as well, but that's not necessarily the case. It could be new with some of the old ones as well.
Yeah. Because it's theoretically possible that some of the original possible futures. Well, I mean, there's probably something.
What is causing the new updates? Is it like changes to the timeline? Like, what's causing the new
we'll get
updates?
to that, but I also just realized, isn't this after he tells Ada to pipe down because he's getting an update?
Yeah.
Why is he surprised about this? Does he not know what an update is? Is he surprised that there's new visions in this update? Does he get updates to where there's no new visions?
It's the same shit every time. He's like, oh my god, wait, this is what's new. Wait.
Like, why is he surprised?
Okay, so
I agree. The order should be reversed.
I think he just should have said this. I think the real reason is because he's surprised he's getting an update rather than surprised the update has new visions.
Yeah, but like
Have the truth
his
there.
reactions and tone should be flip-flops still.
Yes, so it's ridiculous. So, also, I did want to say, he's not saying a new 10 Directions vision. It's Omniscience visions. This is either a mistranslation, or is Omniscience a different Shinjutsu? Is it the Shinjutsu of Shinjutsu to not be the Shinjutsu of Shinjutsu, but still better than 10 Directions? Is it 10 Directions? Does it go a lot? Is it the two different abilities, like Kamui and Intangibility are two different abilities? Is this a part of 10 Directions, but like separate from it? It's Omniscience, not Omnipotence, or 10 Directions.
Isn't that all-knowing, omniscient?
Yeah.
No, it's omnipotent, no? Or is that something else?
Omnipotent is all powerful.
It's all
Omniscience is
powerful.
all knowing. Omnipresence is
So,
self-explanatory.
I think it probably just is. They're probably just. Honestly, okay, this is hilarious. Do you think they
It's
just
translation.
messed up their translation of prescience, which is already not 10 Directions? But do you think the Ross say new Jipo visions, and they're
That's
just
what I was
saying
thinking.
they're just saying prescience but wrong again?
Yeah, like they got the science part right, but instead of pre, they wrote omni.
It sounds cooler.
I think that is most likely. This is the Viz translations, by the way, if I'm not mistaken. So I just thought that was
Let
funny.
me see if they have this chapter. No, they don't. Where am I gonna find chapter 23, Roz?
I mean, the raws are going to be real easy. You just look for the plus sign. Oh, there's Jipo. But while you're doing,
I don't know how I'm gonna find it because on my website they don't have chapter 23. It's only chapter 22.
Okay. Well, moving on though. So this all tells me that the update is caused exclusively from Kawaki's involvement and not the limiters, whether he got them off or not. I still say it's possible he didn't, because this is stuff Kawaki has been easily capable of doing. Be mad, Kamui. But just because a character gets one shot early in a fight does not speak on their actual current potential. So does this mean 10 Directions only updates when something new happens, as opposed to something happening earlier or later than expected? For example, this means Koji would not have 10 Directions update when he taught Boruto the Uzuhiko years earlier than expected. This is where my real theory kicks in of like the thing that I came to. Like, this is a big conclusion in my opinion, but what do we think?
Well, real quick, I think he absolutely got updates with the Uzuhiko and Flying Ration examples, because otherwise he just wouldn't see the current Boruto in these Jura fights. So how does he know for sure how well they scale? Unless it's like a 10 years from now, Boruto with those jutsu is fighting Jura 10 years later, and he's going based off that. But that doesn't seem to be what he's implying. He's just seeing the current Boruto fighting the current Jura in the Sand Village.
I mean, what if it's story he's saying... I mean, it's possible that the current Boruto is gonna fight Jura like naturally anyways if Koji never involved himself, to where that Boruto wouldn't have Uzuhiko yet. That's a possibility.
But if Boruto doesn't have Uzuhiko in that vision, he can't so confidently assume this Boruto can't win. He just doesn't know if Uzuhiko will work or not.
I mean, I guess. To be fair, he's never seen a possibility where Boruto wins, so that can still get to that. Because he's going based off 10 Directions, not his induction.
But he also says Boruto's not ready yet to fight Jura, implying he knows of a way for Boruto to be ready based off his visions.
Well, but then that means in his visions, he's seeing Boruto, like, Boruto learns Uzuhiko, and that's what's capable of putting down Jura. And
so
if
why does he teach him that?
Maybe it's like stepping stones, you don't know. But that means if that's the only thing he sees in 10 Directions to where Jura dies, then he would be going for that. And if Boruto doesn't have that, then he would assume that Boruto can't kill Jura in any possibility of a future. Unless he has it.
Yeah, I
Even if
suppose
he's
so, but
wrong.
I'd still be asking why not teach him ego.
But I think this is. I'll just repeat this because it's just like a really important factor in my opinion. Does this mean 10 Directions only update when something new happens as opposed to something earlier or later than expected happening? So going with that, what happened in the 10 Directions future Koji saw of Two Blue Vortex Chapter 1 when Code showed up to the leap? Code popped up in front of Sarada to make her scream so Boruto would appear. Would he still do that? Like, Kawaki came soon after. Did Code kill Sarada? Did he kill Kawaki? Did original Boruto actually hear it and show up? Do the Shinju awaken later in this timeline? What do we think?
Certain things happen that change fate, and that's what updates the 10 Directions. And I'm thinking it's literal and it's symbolic, you know what I mean? Like them going against the odds and them breaking the odds is what's changing fate, and I think that is what's causing the 10 Directions to update personally.
You know, I thought of I have an interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
There might be, no, you could definitely write it to a way where this wouldn't work, but there might be a way to get around some of Koji's loopholes. For example, let's just say when Koji first meets Boruto, he tells him, like, let's say in the original vision, before he meets Boruto, Coach shows up and he kills Sora, he kills Kawaki, he kills everyone, then Jiro shows up and he kills everyone. It's all bad, right? So, hypothetically, the first thing Koji tells Boruto is, hey, this is going to happen with Code, so you're going to have to show up, you know, when I tell you to, so that you can save Sarada's life. So, at that moment, he's not going to get an update. But then, after he tells Boruto that, he's going to get an update from something else. In this case, it's going to be he teaches the Flying Raijin. For this, we're going to assume something happening earlier will make him have an update. So he teaches them Flying Raijin, and now he gets an update. Now that he's getting the update, does he now see an update, not just based off Flying Raijin, but based off his earlier information about Code? Does that get updated? Does he get like a double update?
That's what I believe. I believe other things change as well.
Yeah, so based off that, what Koji could hypothetically do is tell people things that he thinks will work, then immediately force an update, basically. Like, he can pick and choose the most minute, minuscule thing that doesn't actually matter. Make that update happen so that he can now find out in advance what's going to happen before it happens. He might be able to, like, cheat the system for the most part. Obviously, there's still an element of unknown, but he can learn the unknown faster by doing these methods.
Does 10 Directions strain him at all? Do these at all? Could he do it like in rapid
possessed?
Well, that actually goes along with this next thing here, though. During the past few days, is what Koji says. He says exactly, very cunning Boruto. He must have relayed something to Kawaki during the past few days. Obviously, that's the thing that is causing the update, and Koji is saying that. He's not saying it's because Kawaki came now, but because Kawaki came now is because something happened a few days ago.
Exactly.
So that catalyst event a few days ago confirms that 10 Directions does not update immediately based on the potential of what could happen, but only action, aka the choices.
So Boruto tells Kawaki his limiter is probably the sand mission off screen, and then that's why Kawaki's showing up, obviously, as you would know, to be there. What he's saying is, as we know, Koji didn't get an update in Chapter 15. He's getting the update now, which means it doesn't update when Boruto tells Kawaki, but only when Kawaki does something about it.
Yeah.
And Koji's
the weird
saying...
thing, though, is it's not Kawaki. Interestingly, this might actually imply to our earlier question. It's either just like it makes no sense, or I answer. Your earlier question was, does it only update based off new things versus sooner or later things?
Exactly.
Because as we know, Kawaki gets his limiters off eventually anyway. Boruto just made him do it sooner. And as we know, Koji didn't get the update. So this is where we have to ask, okay, it didn't update when Kawaki demanded for the modifications at the very least. In Chapter 18, nothing happens for several chapters, which means
it either updated based off Kawaki showing up, which is a new thing, or because it technically updates before Kawaki gets there, it's possible that it updated at the exact moment that Kawaki's limbers came off, and then like he showed up a minute later. That is also
I
possible.
think it's that one. It's the second the action happens, and it's put into
So the question is, which action though? Is it getting the limiters off or him showing up?
I think
It's got to be one or the other.
Well, he's saying the update seemingly
say
is
it's the limiter
because Kawaki's involvement. So I don't think him getting the limiters off, especially because he's saying he doesn't see the Kawaki's involvement at all. Not that Kawaki's involved earlier than expected, but that it doesn't happen at all. He's not saying anything about the limiters. So I do feel like
but he doesn't even know yet.
Might not, but hypothetically, Kawaki may have never gotten involved unless his limiters came off early, which is what Boruto made him do.
I agree.
That
That's
can
a
be the
possibility.
reason why Kawaki's bothering to go.
Yeah, I do agree. That's a
I'm
possibility.
not saying I like that, because I think Kawaki should just want to go regardless, but
Well,
that could be the
I would
reason
agree
why
with
he
you based on Kawaki's characterization, but I think Kawaki is also smart despite being irrational and emotional. He did not fight Jura when he
True.
after the Himawari fight when Boruto teleported Himawari away. He chose to go back to the Leaf Village and to kill Hidari before like doing anything else. He could have like hypothetically just went to straight immediately attack Boruto. That's what he did when Boruto showed up when Code showed up. He didn't try to blast Code. No, he attacked Boruto first thing. Now, I'm not going to say he learned from that, but I think he realizes there's no reason. There's reason, but he shouldn't fight Jura right now. He should go back to the village and do what he can there. So I feel like similar things could apply here.
Yeah, so the point would be, though, I know you're going to say Kawaki's limbers never came off, but in this case, just going with the idea that it came off, hypothetically in Kochi's visions, Kawaki never shows up unless his limbers come off. So it would be Boruto's instigation at the end of the day. But the question really is, though, it could be either or, because we don't know the specific seconds timeline finagling of this. Because again, if it was specifically Kawaki showing up, Kochi saw it before it happened, so that can only be if Kawaki showed up, I don't know, like a mile away, then flew over for a minute after the fact. You know what I mean? Like, or Kawaki got the limiters off, that's when he gets the update, and then a minute later Kawaki shows up. It just depends on which of those two it is.
Yeah.
But we don't know, because they didn't show us, obviously. Hopefully we can get a flashback of this next chapter, but based off Jura undoing a flashback of, like, I don't know how Amino did the modifications. Does he do a command codes? Is that how he did it in like 5 seconds? Or did Amino pull out his scalpel and start scraping away at Shibai cells and all this other shit in like 5 seconds to make this? And while Kawaki has time to go to the clothing store, I feel like, I want to know what Amino did.
He's just gonna say some stupid
Saying
phrase.
he did it through scientific ninja tech does not answer the question of how he did it.
Yeah, he's just gonna say, Kawaki, what did the cat eat Tuesday? And then his limiters are gonna come off. It's just gonna be some nonsense. But going along with that, though, since this is a long continued theory, but whenever 10 Directions updates with new information, is that when, or is it because the other possibilities are now closed off, or irregardless of that, is that entirely independent from Singularity of Fate shenanigans?
Well, that's a tough question, dog.
I think it's entirely. I think it's because of Singularity of Fate shenanigans. Because again, even like in just normal timelines, like for example, by the time Koji meets Boruto in the time skip, like the timeline of Ishiki beating Baramo Naruto is already closed off. It just can't happen now. I don't think Koji got a separate update for that. I think it just got snuffed out, and then he kept seeing the other. Instead of having 1,000 futures, now there's 999 kind of thing. I don't think he gets an update every time.
Okay, so hypothetically, this is weird. So do you think...
It's possible. I think it'd be weird if you got an update, but like maybe ordinarily he gets updates of when things are closed off. And this could explain his new omniscient visions line. It's possible he always gets updates when things are closed off, but in this case, it was new
Rarely
visions, and that
appeared.
surprised him when he was expecting the same old, same old. That is possible.
Okay.
But the problem is, I feel like the moment Sarda awakened her Monk Echo, this was only a possibility, not a guaranteed thing. She would have gotten an update back then, for example. So why did it wait?
It
It
is.
happened because of Kawaki in one way or another, which leads me to believe his new omniscient vision's just a weird line, and yeah.
Well, I would say it is
Translation
based
issue.
off of choices, but if they're going with the ridiculousness of Koji's A Singularity of Fate, let's just say this isn't what happened, but let's just say 6 days ago is when Koji ordered the sand mission. Then it could be that that's the last time where A Singularity of Fate has done anything, in which case those choices, quote unquote, are technically on a certain path because of Koji. They're already technically predetermined in a way because Koji set up that future. In a way. It's almost like guaranteed to happen in a sense, to where the other possibilities are technically snuffed out, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, but I feel like then he wouldn't get the update. So maybe he told Shikamaru like on 7 days ago, and then 6 days ago Shikamaru told Konohamaru the mission, and that's when he gets the update, kind of thing.
Okay. So going with that, over time, the longer 10 Directions does an update, the more future visions are going to be snuffed out, and without an update, you can't see more possible futures, so it just becomes more and more closer to one possible future. Let's just say there's no Singularities of Fate besides you, and you aren't changing anything, so eventually, 3 years passes, or whatever, to wherever you can see the farthest in the future. There's only going to be one future that you can see once all other possible futures are snuffed out. Do you think from
the problem
here...
is, I think Koji just sees like forever into the future as of right now, so it's just always infinity, basically.
Okay. But...
And he's constantly seeing some blackout and reappear.
Oh, reappear could be really interesting. I'll get to that in a minute. I was going to say, do you think there's any possible way to where there's only one possible future remaining with 10 Directions, and that future somehow also gets snuffed out to where there's 0 possible futures? As ridiculous as it is, do you think there's any way to do that through this ability?
I think it gets to one where someone's like boot is literally on someone's neck. Like it's like he's gonna kill you. I think that's when it's one future, and I think it's 0 futures when the guy dies.
But I
You know
think
what I
it just would be infinite possible futures with the same outcome, like in that sense. So like,
where you just
boot
see it's
to
the same
neck
scenario.
would be in
every-
every future, but there would just be things beyond the boot to the neck that he would still see. I think he's just forever seeing more into the future, so I don't think it'll ever just end.
Yeah, but let's say he's always seeing the boot to the neck, and then Singularity of Fate nonsense, he tells the person, don't put your boot to their neck. They don't do that. Does he then open up previously closed off, snuffed out futures? Or is it just
this is where it's
0
pretty obvious.
futures that he sees until the next update? Which I guess
I think it
would be when he
well,
doesn't
I mean,
put his
2
boot
things.
to his neck.
One,
The moment they take
reappearance
the foot
thing
off
would
the
just
neck.
depend on context, and 2, it wouldn't just be 0 futures. You would just see like the day after the boot. What's gonna happen? You're still gonna see other things.
Well, let's just say
I don't think the boot's
everything
the
is
only
predetermined.
event alive, you know.
But let's just say, I don't know, it's Ada putting her boot on Kawaki's neck, and that's going to cause omnipotence that freezes time forever. So if Ada doesn't do that...
It's game over scenario.
So if Koji tells Ada not to do that tomorrow when it's supposed to happen, is Koji going to then have the possible futures unsnuffed out, or does he need to wait until tomorrow when Ada doesn't do that for an update to happen to then see more possible futures?
Based on what we're seeing, he would have to wait for Ada to not do it like the next day, unless because Koji's a Singularity of Fate from the moment he has 10 Directions. If that changes the game a little bit, that is possible. But I think, based on what we're seeing, though, it would be not until the next day when Ada doesn't put the boot to the neck.
Okay.
And that's when he would see the updates.
Because if Koji's a Singularity of Fate, and let's say that he can't see himself because he can't see Singularities of Fate, so we're not going to say he's special in this regard, then he couldn't see himself telling Ada, and if Ada was always going to do it, and now she isn't going to do it, then until she doesn't do it, I think he would either continue to see that as the only possible future, even though he knows it's not going to happen.
He would just see.
Okay, but okay, let's say he doesn't tell Ada, he just has Genjutsu to where he can force Ada to not do it, and he knows she isn't going to do it. If he uses 10 directions, is he still going to see her doing it, or is he just not going to see anything at all?
I think he's going to see her doing it until he actually does the Genjutsu that stops her from doing it.
Well, yeah, let's say he does the Genjutsu, and then uses 10 directions. What does he see?
I think he sees the new feature.
Yeah, he would see new futures that
New
are like
possibilities.
what goes beyond, because the time's never getting frozen in the first place, and now it's just going to go into the next day.
Well,
We
but
get that panel again.
we're saying
Omni
that as of now,
Prime
10
Vision
directions
Turbo.
hasn't updated.
Well, it would update the moment he does the Genjutsu, I think.
Because it's based off action.
Well, but if we're
Or
saying
something.
that, then 10 directions should have updated the moment that Boruto told Kawaki the things.
Well, the difference the Genjutsu is in action versus telling someone something.
Okay, so then
No,
do
I
you
think that
think
might
that do you think it
influence it.
so okay. Do you think it's based on actions or decisions?
I mean, either way, the Genjutsu would be both, so...
Okay, because okay, well then but what I mean by that is going to canon, do you think 10 directions updated because Kawaki got his limiters off or because he showed up?
And that's the problem. I don't know which it is. It could
They could have
very
been very
reasonably
close to
be
each other.
either one.
Yeah.
I
Because I think if it's because he showed up,
getting his
the
limiters off
action
allowed him to come to the village. So I think that's when the thing updated.
a lot of this is gonna depend. I think a lot of this is gonna depend if they can, for the love of God, at the very least, I just want them to clarify which piece of information it was. That's the point. So is because again, Koji didn't specify what Boruto told him, which means it could be the limiters thing we saw, or it could be Sand Village mission off screen. We need to know which thing specifically, or it's both together, is the important part. Because if they say like Boruto must have told him that Kawaki has his limiters off, all like if Koji's like Kawaki has his limiters off already, what? Then we know okay, it's the limiters that was the important thing. But if he says Kawaki was supposed to get his limiters off, but he was never supposed to show up now, then we know, okay, it's the sand mission was the important part.
Yeah.
You know, we need Koji to say something about that.
I mean, it's weird
Mhm.
regardless, because are we going to say that Boruto and Koji are separate in terms of Singularity of Fate, where Koji's special? So what I mean by that, forget Boruto. Let's say Boruto just doesn't say anything to Kawaki. Let's say Koji, for whatever reason, he told Kawaki about the sand mission. Does he not get an update until Kawaki shows up, or does he get an update the moment he tells Kawaki? Why would it be different?
Don't know there is because Koji is well again he went up told Kawaki. See, the problem is the thing I don't know with Koji is because even if you don't want to say the first time, he's had multiple updates past that point. So Koji, in all of his visions, knows about the future, all the futures. He knows everything and all updates. He always knows. So would 10 Directions show a Koji who knows about the future and wants to act according to what he knows about the future? Would he see Koji telling Kawaki about the limiters because Koji, in all these visions, knows about the future and is going to act accordingly? Is he going to see that? Or does he just not see any? Does he see a hypothetical Koji who knew nothing? Like, what is he seeing for the Kojis in there?
Yeah.
That's the problem with Koji. I don't know. Because with Boruto, it's like he only knows what Koji tells him. So it's just going to update according to some things that he tells Boruto and then Boruto does and so on. But Koji's a little bit different in that regard. So I don't know what he sees as far as himself.
So, do you think that when he told Boruto about Uzuhiko, do you think it updated then, or only once Boruto learned it, or even used it for the first time?
Say that again? I think it's message.
Do you think when... Okay. Do you think 10 Directions updated for Koji when... Three different possibilities. When Koji first told Boruto about Uzuhiko, when Boruto first decided to train for Uzuhiko, or when Boruto first used Uzuhiko for the first time?
There is one of the second two.
I think when he mastered it.
I could see an argument for either one. I think the most sensible answer, based on what we're seeing, would just be, well,
when he shows up and
depending on the Kawaki situation, anyway. So the problem is Kawaki's limiter thing, especially if it's an Amado command code, it really is just all or nothing. Whereas Boruto's at the process of learning. So like it would make sense the moment Boruto starts training, he's doing training he didn't do 6 years later early. So I feel like that would just update based on that. But I could see a thing to where it's not totally officially that it updates. I could see it both ways, but I think it makes.
So do you think it's intent?
It's all at once, so it's a little different. Sorry?
Do you think it's like his intent that would change the timeline or change the vision? Or do you think it's him actually mastering it? You think just him having the intent to master and learn the Uzihiko would be enough to give him new visions?
I think so, because hypothetically, there could be a possibility where Boruto has a half-learned Uzihiko against Code that wouldn't have existed if, like, Koji never started Kijio. I feel like that would be a possible future that he should be able to see, and that only can happen because he starts learning Uzihiko in that case. In this case, he would just learn it too slow. But I think that should be a possibility, except if it starts updating once Boruto starts training, and if Koji can't see that, he just can't see all possible futures because we have to wait.
So bringing it back to the Kawaki situation, that would mean it has to be when Boruto spoke to Kawaki. That's what changed the timeline, right? It wouldn't be the limiter.
There, though, is again, so we're not saying it's when Koji told Boruto this is how you do Uzihiko. It would be when Boruto starts training for Uzihiko.
Hey, that's rough. Okay.
But then the problem is, okay, I think based on that, it shouldn't update when Boruto tells Kawaki about the limiters, but then maybe it should be updating when Kawaki asks Amado about the limiters. But it clearly didn't. So that would lead you to when Kawaki gets the limiters off, which is more similar to like Boruto training, but you could argue instead it's when Amado starts modifying Kawaki that Koji's visions updates, and because Amado's limiters thing is instant, and it's just like one sentence, then when he starts.
Kamui, you cut out.
Yeah, that's tough. I don't know which one. That's tough.
Yeah, cut out.
How much cut out?
The end of your sentence there. From start.
I don't know exactly what I said, but in the case of Amado, it could be a thing to where, if assuming it's the specifically Kawaki getting his limiters off and not him showing up, then it could be a thing to where once Amado starts modifying Kawaki is when he gets the update, and because Amado's thing is only one sentence long, probably, it's when he starts is when he ends, because it's going to happen instantly anyway. Whereas for Boruto, it'd be different. It'd be like, it takes some months to train.
Hey. I wonder if it could even update whenever Koji makes a choice to do something. Like, before he tells Boruto about Uzihiko, the moment he decides to tell Boruto about Uzihiko, I wonder if it updates.
Well, maybe it's like
I don't think so, because otherwise he should have updated what he told Boruto about Kawaki's limiters, and then or when Boruto told Kawaki about the limiters.
Yeah.
It doesn't do that. So.
Yeah. Okay. Another 10 Directions thing, if we're ready to move past that 10 Directions topic on the next one. Okay. Did Koji foresee the future of himself telling Shikamaru to do the sand mission? Or did Shikamaru naturally send these people to the sand, and they were already on their own going to defeat the Shinju, and Sara to use her Mangekyo Sharingan? I doubt Shikamaru originally told them to separate / backstab at the Shinju. How did it originally go? Because keep in mind, if they don't separate and backstab the Shinju, then we're just gonna have the, like, 5 of them 5v2ing the Shinju. That's a completely different scenario.
Yeah, so for the first part, again, this gets back to the
Yeah.
Koji singularity thing. Does Koji see himself acting on behalf of being a singularity because he's already a singularity when he first sees everything and he gets updates? Or is it the case to where in some of the futures, Shikamaru... I'm thinking he didn't see himself telling Shikamaru actually, because Koji tells Shikamaru to send that team and no one else, because if they send more people, Jorah will show up. So they're trying to do the minimum force necessary. That tells me in some future Shikamaru is sending like a bigger team where Jorah shows up. Whereas when he sends this specific team, Jorah doesn't show up, and then Sarda usually weakens her Mangekyo and so on. That's probably what happened. Which would imply he doesn't see himself acting as a singularity in his visions.
Okay.
Probably. I mean, otherwise he has too many answers, so I think it's better if he can't see that. But
what does Devin think?
Repeat the last part. I'm sorry. Repeat the question. I was texting someone.
The last part was think.
Oh, did he? Okay. Did he for Fuyupsu?
I think I agree with. I think when I don't know who said it, but that since he's he basically saw himself. I think he saw himself killing Shikamaru, and I think maybe the mission went a little bit differently. But I think it's in these kind of instances, it's where the missions go differently, but the end result is the same. You know, like maybe it is a 5v2 and it is a different fight, but other circumstances happen and we still get the same end result. Is the situation that we're seeing now.
I don't know. I feel like the reason for telling them to separate and backstab is because if they didn't do that, the Shinju are stronger than them. So,
but then again, they didn't. When it comes to the Ryu fight, at least, the backstabbing literally backfired. Ryu backstabbed them because he caught them. So,
actually, Kamui, you make a really good point.
Through power, not backstabbing.
That's actually a really good point. So, if the backstab was successful and they killed Ryu, Sarada doesn't awaken her Mangekyo, which is what Koji wanted. Why would Koji even say the backstab thing in the first place? They were already gonna fight regardless. He's doing the bad singularity of fate thing. If you tell them things, it just opens up more possibilities that are bad.
So it's either the case that Shikamaru just came up with that plan on his own and Koji just didn't say anything, or Koji said it knowing that Ryu was just going to find out anyway, so it didn't matter. But that leads me to believe he saw futures of Shikamaru saying the plan anyway, which means Shikamaru probably just came up with the plan.
So it was originally Shikamaru's plan?
Probably.
Yeah, okay.
Because like what he said, like if it was Koji's plan, and he wouldn't want it to be successful because I'm started.
But Koji saw Shikamaru do it, so he's like, "All right, this is the natural process of things. I'm just gonna go ahead and."
Yeah, I think he just let it happen at that point. I don't think he influenced it.
I mean, it would be so weirdly nonsensical, but it could be that the only way for it to happen is if he tells them to do this to where they don't want to do it, to where they do it. Similar to him telling Boruto that he doesn't need to go to the sand, and that's the only reason that Boruto would go when he does, or something. That's a theory, anyways.
Well, then we get into like a kind of a closed timeline theory where not a loop, but do you think some things are inevitable and some things have to happen, and the timeline kind of folds in on itself, kind of like a
the answer to that is yes. It's just everything that isn't a choice.
True. Okay.
Because that's what 10 directions, that's where the paths split off. But aside from that, they are straight paths to the choices. So everything that happens between choices is inevitable.
I agree.
Okay. But that being said...
Yeah, next one. How would Jorah, or no?
Oh yeah, we could do. Where did you see? How did what?
I was just reading the next one, but if you want to do a different one,
is that the?
Oh yes. Well, this is just a separate question, but
but real quick, because I already read this, Kamui. So this completely goes against what you were saying about if Boruto goes on the Himawari mission, how would Jorah know? But whatever.
How does it go against it? It's the same point.
Because you were saying that Jorah shouldn't know because he shouldn't have the Clawgrams in the village.
No. Look at what I wrote. I'll just read it to you. how would Jura even know if Himawari left Konoha? One can only assume he has Claw Grime running around at the village, not in, around at the village, like in Chapter 8, which he can share senses with. But if that's the case, why not have Delta and or Kawaki kill all those Claw Grimes so Jura can't know what's going on in the village? So, okay, see, it's the last part is what you're getting at.
Yeah, because if you say running around the village, I'm not going to think you mean literally in a circle around it. Especially for the last part.
So I wrote this a little bit weird, so I'll just perspectives. So the first part, just ignore the last part. Okay. So how would he know if I see. Okay, I realize how I'm combining different things.
I don't even have to call you an idiot. You just found it out on your own.
Well, it's not that it's an idiot. It's that you're combining two different things. So now I see the confusion and how we're gonna re-explain it. Okay. So this first one, just ignore the whole previous conversation with Boruto and Himawari. I'll come back to that.
Sure.
Well, actually, no, let's start with that. Boruto and Himawari. Then that's in the village. The clocker running around the village wouldn't see it. They don't see like every house in the.
They might not see it, but if you do think earlier that if Konohamaru is close enough to the claw grimes where Mitsuki is fighting them to where Jura could sense it through the claw grimes that Boruto's there, despite them being at Konohamaru's location rather than Mitsuki's location, then I do think it's fair to say that the claw grimes running around the village would be able to sense anything inside the village.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be able to sense Boruto. I mean, it really just depends on he's sharing senses, so it would depend on the claw grimes sensory powers in that case. Jura would be able to sense Boruto from Konohamaru's spot. I don't think he'd be able to sense Boruto / Konohamaru from where Mitsuki versus the claw grime's happening. I don't think he'd be able to sense it from there. Okay. Which gets into my point of I think a Thorn still would obviously sense it, but ignoring that, yeah, I don't think that would work. So I don't think the clock running around the village can sense Boruto in the village personally, but we don't know for sure, obviously.
Sure.
But anyway, so now with this one, just ignore that mission. How would Ron know Himawari left Konoha? Just actually, because Koji's saying if she leaves Konoha, he's going to show up and kill her. So how would he know? The only actual answer to that would be that he has Claw Grime running around the village where he can share the senses with, and that's how he's going to do it. Unless the only other argument is that from across the world, Jura can just sense Kurama's chakra everywhere he goes.
Well, I do think that's the case, because I don't think reading it in the book is going to let him know where to teleport to. He can know, Konoha is in the northern part of the district of this country of the world. But if he doesn't know where to teleport to, based on
the claw grime just being by would be enough.
But how would he know which claw grime to teleport to?
He would just have shown pictures of Konoha. But then again,
well, that wouldn't matter if he can't see through the claw grimes. He would have to do sensory.
Do you think he sensed Kurama's chakra from that Ten Tails dimension?
Yes. I think it's the same way. I think Omnipotence traveled through the claw marks and able to affect code. So I think Jura can sense through the claw marks.
That's interesting.
Yeah. One debunk to that is, for whatever reason, seemingly Code can't sense through the claw marks. He has to look through his eyes or ear to hear.
But it doesn't have sensory power. That could be part of it.
Well, yeah, but
do you think there's any
it's kind of weird.
Chakra suppression in the village?
Do you think
what I mean, that would kind of stop people detecting chakra when they're in the village, but the second she leaves the village, maybe she's not as protected.
Well, I think that's also part of it, but that shouldn't really matter because is the village going to protect Himawari from Jura? No.
I meant more so in the sense of sensory dampening stuff in the village, but when she leaves the village, she's more susceptible to be sensed.
I don't think that's true.
No.
No,
I'm headcanoning, but I'm we're looking.
I mean, it's possible. The Yamanaka sensory bubble might prevent sensing to some degree, maybe. I don't know. Possibility.
No, I was just thinking about this. Okay, this is a little bit. This whole scenario is kind of ridiculous, but just hear the situation out. So, as we know, according to Koji,
The reason Jura's not going in the village and attacking Himawari is because he holds Konoha's buildings in high value and blah blah. He doesn't want to destroy the village, right? So, hypothetically, what if Jura just shows up in the village, walks up to Himawari, and he doesn't want to destroy anything, so he says, Himawari, let's take this outside the village so we don't destroy it. What is Himawari gonna do? Like a little bit forcefully, she's gonna grab her. What is Himawari gonna do? So it's just two options. She can either go outside the village with Jura, which is what he would want in that case, or she herself is gonna start destroying the village, which is what Jura doesn't want to make Jura leave. But would Himawari be willing to destroy Konoha buildings to make Jura leave? Like, is she willing to do that? I don't think so. I think Himawari character would go with Jura outside the village, in which case, why doesn't Jura just do this? The easiest solution. Just be like, show up and say, hey, let's go outside the village.
Jura is willing to destroy the things he doesn't want to destroy. First of all, he killed Inojin despite not wanting to. Second of all, he fired that Biju bomb that Chocho had to redirect so it doesn't blow up Konoha. He just thinks it's a shame. He doesn't want to do it, but he absolutely will to get what he wants.
Okay, so is Koji just wrong then? It's the alternative.
Koji's not wrong, because if Jura just doesn't make a move, then it doesn't really matter. But if he were to go there, then he did confront Himawari. He's not. It's not the two options.
Why is he unwilling to go there unless Himawari leaves the village then?
It's not that he's unwilling. It's just that he doesn't care enough to do it.
But then why does he care so much to do it the moment Himawari leaves the village?
See, that's where you're just taking Koji's words too literally.
Koji said she will, without doubt, die if she leaves the village.
So, do you think if she just stays in the village, Jura is never going to invade?
Based off what Koji's... I mean, regardless.
Exactly. So, yeah, based on what Koji said, yes, which is why we can't take what Koji said literally, because obviously Jura is going to invade.
It's just she's less likely to survive if she's by herself. As opposed to...
But then I'm just kind of like... But then why does Jura, like... I understand it's an opportunity. It's the better hope of the world. But, like... He leaves if he doesn't care that much about any of this. Like, why?
I think Jura sees devouring his target as like an end game, and if he has anything to do before then, he just wants to do it. So whenever anything
so then why is he gonna? Well, then if Himawari leaves Konoha, why will he skip over killing Boruto and do that first?
Well, okay, because I know that's what you want to talk about. If Himawari leaves right now, in the middle of the Boruto-Jura fight, Jura has a choice to make. Will he continue to stay to kill Boruto, or will he go after Himawari?
Exactly.
I think if he has the upper hand in the fight, he's killing Boruto. If he has the upper hand, he's killing Boruto, but if Himawari seems like the easier target, I think he's leaving the fight and going after her.
I disagree with that.
Which might
I think it's wherever he's
hypothetical. Okay, hypothetical.
Whatever he's currently doing.
This is ridiculous. So, Himawari's like in on the test here. So Himawari hypothetically just gets near a clock line and yells, "Jura!" It's like Ishiki's countdown. I'm gonna count to 10. If you don't show up here, I'm going right back in the village.
I think he legit
What
stopped.
is Jura?
Well, that's ridiculous. First of all, before addressing that, I do want to say the more vanilla answer, if I'm allowed to. So I think if we reverse the roles, Jura's doing the same thing. So I think currently he's in front of Boruto. He's not going to go knowing she's outside when she's outside the village because Boruto's right in front of him. Likewise, if he was in front of Himawari, and that's when Boruto went to the sand missions, I think he's staying in front of Himawari until after Himawari's done. Is my Wi-Fi good? Hello?
Okay.
Did you hear what I said?
You cut out for me, and I didn't know if it was me that was the problem or you.
Oh, no,
that time it was me, but every other time it has been you, because Devin and Dan have been fine with their audios. Just your Wi-Fi's too.
Well, speaking of that, how have I been for the last, 2 hours?
It's been mostly as bad. And I guess we were just dumb. A smarter way to do it would be not to ask YouTube, but to ask Space, who's in the Discord and can hear both of us and can tell us which one is roboting.
I personally don't think it's been the worst, but like I said, I'm in here.
I mean, I've been able to understand everything that you've said, but everything you've said has been kind of robot-y. I mean, you can just listen back to the stream and hear what it sounded like, but...
I tried to earlier, but it was really hard to like pay attention to what you were actually saying while listening to filtering through, waiting for me to say something. It was kind of annoying.
Yeah, I get that. But either way, what I was saying is, if he's in front of Boruto, he's not going to go to Himawari. If he's in front of Himawari, he's not going to go to Boruto. It's just he's going to do whatever task he's currently doing at the time, which sort of, in my opinion, goes against what he was doing earlier. That's almost the exact opposite of what he was doing earlier. But that's what I think he would do currently.
Really? You don't think he would stop under any after the other? Like, even if it was like an easy kill, you don't think he would stop the fight with Boruto and go over there?
No, I don't think he's going to do whatever's easiest. I think he's going to do whatever's in front of him.
Okay.
So hypothetically...
Okay, well, what about Chapter 13? Because Chapter 13, both were in front of him and he chose Boruto.
Well, what's the other thing in terms of both?
Himawari. Both Himawari and Boruto were in front of him, and he's only sniping Boruto and not doing anything to Himawari. So that implies he's just going to choose Boruto first.
I don't think that necessitates that he's going to...
So it doesn't really...
I don't think that necessitates that he's prioritizing Boruto. I think, because again, both are in front of him. He doesn't care until the Soul Thorn. That's like the most recent thing. Hypothetically, okay, Boruto passes out. He doesn't care about Hidari rotting. And then Himawari wakes up. Maybe he's going to stop killing Boruto to go focus on Himawari, since that's the most recent development that's right in front of him.
Okay, but why not just capture a knocked out Himawari? Why does he have to wake up first?
I think because it's like a dinosaur, it only goes after the things that are moving. I think Jura doesn't care unless it's a new development.
So, Boruto wasn't moving when he shot him.
Yeah, but that's just continuing from the last thing that was... Like, if Boruto's the most recent thing, he's gonna focus on Boruto until there's a next most recent thing, even if Boruto stops